We are live. And I think I may have made a mistake because I should have gotten some water before I started. So let me just get some water and then we're gonna just get into it. Just 1 second. Okay. We have our water. So today's a interesting time. We woke up. I woke up at like 1 a.m. And I wanted to stream way earlier than that, but it is what it is. So I'm not expecting many people to come in today, though if people do come in, that's a welcome surprise and I'd enjoy it. But yeah, I'm gonna kind of treat this as a miscellaneous kind of stream, a do anything type thing. I do want to fix and finish up some mechanics for the game. I also do wish to work on maybe a website redesign. I don't know. There's a lot to explore and do. But yeah. We're just gonna see what happens. Where things go from here. So last time we were working on this whole occlusion culling system. If I can remember correctly, let's find it here. And it was sort of working, but it wasn't perfect. I can recall that. So we were able to, we had it so that if you go to certain locations, let's see if we can go to the proper zone. I'm hitting invisible walls. There we go. The right environment would be loaded or activated for rendering to kind of mitigate draw calls that don't need to be done. And that's cool and everything. But now we have this increasing need to have adjacent occlusion bounds that you're looking at be rendered. So if the player's looking at this should be rendered, and I'm not sure actually. Because there is a need to have what you're looking at be rendered, but there's cases like this where like the player could be looking to the side and technically that one would, if there's an occlusion bound over there, that would be rendered, but we also need to have this one be rendered as well. It's a very odd predicament to be in. But yeah, so that's kind of some of the problems we're going to be addressing here today. Some of the main ones that we need to address at least. But no, that's not correct. Yeah. I don't know, I also kind of feel like doing some pixel art today. I want to fix or spice up some of the animations for the character, but we have these big pertinent stuff that we need to address here first. So, oh, actually, beyond that, I also want to start playing around with our lighting system because it's a little finicky to say the best, or to say the least. Can we not? I don't stop. Go away. Go away. I don't want to see this particle stuff. Okay. Can we zoom out, please? No. I might have to actually use this other mouse. Just so I can have the ability to zoom in and out of places. I know there's like an option to do the WAS, the movement, but one thing at a time, right? So anyways, yeah. So let's look at the lighting system we also have going on here, because do I have 2 players? I do. Why do I have 2 of you? Well, that's not good. Get out of here. Oh, what's the button to delete? There we go. No, that's creating 2 duplicates. What's going on here? Why are we having duplicates be made? Yeah, there's like a bunch of duplicates actually. What is going on here? That's weird. Anyways, yeah, we'll just do the old-fashioned way. Delete. But yeah, that's the gist of some of the things you want to work on. I also want to start yeah, I want to start doing some more level blocking and designing at some point soon. And to do that well, you want to have some good light tools so we can make really nice looking environments. Right now we have this light system here, but it's not great. Let me try recomputing the lighting actually. Get rid of this player as well. Application. Actually, do I even have the... How many duplicates do I have? That old PC? No, it's actually a modern PC. I just have old peripherals. But it's still pretty new. Like I'm using a modern operating system like Ubuntu, and you know, we got like a 4080 in here or 5080. What are you doing, young man? I appreciate that you called me a young man. I appreciate to still be referred to as a young man. I already got some white hairs in my beard. I don't like it, man. I want to remain a young man. So what I'm doing is I'm working on this game. I've called it Messy Mansion. When I published the prototype, it was called Stain World. I don't know. We're gonna find a name for this game at some point. And I am working on some optimizations to these environments. And ooh, that's weird. What happened with the lighting here? That's weird. Anyways, there's a bunch of optimizations I want to work on. One of them is called Occlusion culling. So you might see it here in a second if I can find where the hole is. There we go. So you might see that when I go over here, this environment pops in, and then when I go over here, this environment pops in. That's so weird. Why is it rendering like this? So this is a part of implementing a technique called occlusion culling, where you only render the environments the player is currently in, so that people on lower end PCs don't have to chug extra hard to render things that are not going to be visible. So a simple scenario here, and I had it from last time I was demoing this, is that we can pretend this cone is like everything the player can see. So you can say that pretend like the player is here, and this cone is everything they see. So maybe one part of the level is very simple. They only see like a box and then a wall, and there's nothing else. So the FPS here is going to be pretty high. But let's say the player turns around. 1 second. They turn around and they look over here. All of a sudden, there's a bunch of things that they have to render. And that's going to chug your FPS. It's going to dip down lower. It's going to go from high to low very quickly just from turning around. And on top of that, a lot of times you're rendering stuff that doesn't have to be rendered. Like these things here are blocked by this wall over here. We don't need to render that. So instead of doing that, or just relying on this thing called frustum culling, which that's a whole thing, we're combining that technique with occlusion culling, where we have like this box here that says, all right, here's all the objects that we're Here's all the objects in one place, and then here's the objects in another place, and we're only going to render everything the player is currently at. It looks cool. Thank you. Yeah, there's actually much more. This is very. Let me see if I can find a better level. Also, I need to investigate why the lighting is being a bit weird, but one thing at a time, right? One thing at a time. Yeah, here we go. I want to recalculate the lighting. And the fog. I don't know why the fog is super strong. I don't know why this environment's being weird. Oh, there's 2 main cameras too. That's probably not great. I don't know why there's so many duplicates came out of nowhere. Let's see if this fixes anything. There's actually a demo on Newgrounds. It looks like Doom 64. I just put that together, Doom and the Nintendo 64. Yeah, here we go. Here's the how the test environment looks like. So I published a demo on Newgrounds for people to play. And a lot of what I'm doing now is kind of addressing some of this stuff that people pointed out and trying to make something that looks a little bit better and feels a little bit better. Let me try toggling on the lighting again. Lighting or fog. Let me try. Here we go, fog enabled. Let's do that. Here we go. Yeah, so you have different environments, different fogs, and then the game is all about you cleaning up certain areas. Yeah, and then now you can see the occlusion culling much more in effect. So now we're in this area that's internal. We're not rendering any of this stuff over there. Now we have to go over here and render it. That looks so cool. Thank you, Cinnamon Roll. I appreciate it. I'm glad you think it's cool. So yeah, so last stream we got this occlusion culling system working, but now we have to fix this issue where maybe, just maybe, we need to render environments the player can see. So like if I'm looking over here, maybe we should render that. And the reason I'm saying looking at is because, like, yeah, we could do the thing where if we go over here, we can say, hey, if the player's right next to this bounds, we should just render it, right? But then there's a case where the player's there, but they're looking down here and they can see this over here. So maybe we just do render what the player's looking at. There's probably some issues with that, but let's just implement it and go from there. And that's what I tried doing last time, where we have this whole, if I could find it, I think it's actually in the dust manager or the occlusion manager. Yeah, we have this whole thing on update where we do a raycast from where the player's looking out, and then we try to see if we hit any of these bounds. And so far it's not showing that we're hitting anything, or at least it's not activating it. And if we hit something, we activate that area. Love the old school setup, man. I appreciate it. 3-legged chair. I appreciate it. I really do. It's actually, I thought it'd be bad to do this because, you know, smaller screen and old stuff like the keyboard or mouse without the rolling thing and anything. But I actually found this to be kind of enjoyable to work with. Like even with the reduced resolution of 640 by 480. It's pretty good actually. So we're gonna try to debug what's going on here. Just to see like where's our raycast going, to make sure that we're at least doing a proper raycast. And we're gonna go from there. Because maybe our raycast isn't working the way we expect it to. Who knows? So we're going to start by just caching our information and going from there. Yeah, because when things don't work the way you want it to, debugging is super important. And visual debugging is always fun. I love your videos. I'm glad you love my videos. I love tour videos. Okay, your videos. I appreciate it. I want to start doing some more stuff like this. Heads up though, next week I'm going to Puerto Rico for a 2-week vacation. I'm still going to be streaming and working there. It's just that I'm not going to have my CRT and my keyboard. It's going to just be my laptop with, you know, this camera at least still, but we'll go from there. Like watching a wizard. Hey man, I appreciate it. This takes it's just time, man. I mean, I think one of the things that feels magical, because I remember seeing other people work, and their workflow allows them to be super. I was like, okay, I'm seeing these people work, and it seems like magic, right? And it's not just because they're programming, because I see other programmers, but they don't feel magical like that. And I think one thing that really clicked in my mind is like, oh, the people who are doing crazy stuff like never take their hands off the keyboard. And I was like, all right, how does this look like? How do you do that? And it's like, all right, there's one level of learning something called Vim, where you might notice like how people, if they're moving around their keyboard, they like maybe go like this with their arrow keys and then start typing, and then maybe if they want to select stuff, they click and drag and do this, or if they want to go to another file, they click on it like this. But if you see how I work, I never do that. Like I can select things just by using my keyboard. I can go to files by just doing certain key bindings, and that's like all thanks to Vim, which is kind of crazy. So that's like one level. And then the second level is like learning to do that, but also for your window manager. So like, if you notice, I have all these different windows in these kind of tab format, and that's because I'm using i3 on Linux, which is like a super easy, nice way to just manage your windows and even move them around. And you can open up new windows. Like if I want to look at my audio stuff, I can do Pavu control. And then I have it open here, and if I want to close it, Control Shift. If I want to open up a terminal, we can open up a terminal. If I want to have it to do things, I can like type in some ideas. I can do that. It's crazy how like once you start optimizing your workflow to not use your mouse, you just waste so less. Like in aggregate, you start wasting way less time. And as a consequence, you start feeling like a wizard, you know? I appreciate it, Cinnamon Roll. I appreciate it. Or it took months just to master Vim macros. Yeah, it takes time. It takes time. It's a little thing. And then the next level, because this is not my actual professional keyboard. When I actually program professionally, or when I need to get things done, I'm usually using this guy here. I'm using my split keyboard. A keyboard that's split into two and has a custom bindings and all this kind of stuff. So I can just ultra be even more navigation, be able to navigate extra quickly and do a bunch of fun stuff. But I think it's cool to have this keyboard and use it, and that keyboard definitely feels like home for me. But sometimes you gotta spice things up. You have to use something different, go back to basics, and get perspective. Dude, I haven't been able to get to the point where I don't need a tutorial for everything. Hey, that's me for forever, dude. Like for 2 years, even after 2 years, I would still have to like look up certain bindings to do like renaming. So like to do things like, I don't know. Like for example, if I want to rename player here, like I used to have to stop and Google and search and be like, all right, is it %S or S%? Or I don't even know how you do it, right? And eventually just things start sticking after a while, and even then sometimes things don't work like as you expect it to, or there's some weird things that happen with Vim. But just takes time. It takes time until like when you look at the Grand Canyon, right, and you see how big these chasms are, or if you go to other places in the earth where you see these big canyons carved by water. It doesn't happen over a day. It takes a long time until these channels get formed with water constantly hitting it. So yeah, you know, you pay the price of like having to Google stuff, and in the moment it feels slow, but eventually stuff starts sticking, and then you start feeling sick, dude. I appreciate it, Jimmy. I appreciate it. And it's like, I guess the thing I want to emphasize is that, like, yeah, this is accessible to anyone. Like, anyone can do this kind of thing. It's just, you know, a factor of time. For me, it took like a while, but I remember the first like 2 weeks of trying to use Vim. It was so painful. It was so painful, dude. Absolutely painful. But, you know. You eventually get over it. You start being able to message people and stuff and not make mistakes every other character, every other message. Like I mentioned, it's like Grand Canyon, man. Just takes a little bit of that extra, I don't know, pound. I don't want to say pounding, but you get the idea. The same way a sword is made by banging steel over and over again, or metal over and over again. It's kind of the same thing with art craft. And this hit. How come he's 71 subscribers? Hey, I'm happy that I was kind of, dude, it was kind of crazy. We got to 64 subscribers the other day, and I was like, nice, that's the cool number. That's the Nintendo number. I should have made a post, but I you know, I didn't have screenshotting working on here yet. Oh man. Be like Illustrator or 3D modeling. Initially, learning curve was tough, but once you have a grasp, yeah, it becomes a lot easier. Oh yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah, and then like with a lot of other things, and there's like a more general thing. There's this thing called cognitive load theory, and there's different types of loads your brain goes through, and you know, we do like I do music and illustration and a bunch of other stuff, right? And there's some people who like wonder like, okay, how do you pick up these different diverse like skill sets? And it's like, all right, the biggest thing that helps with this, right, is understanding the idea of schemas and how to make these and find the connection between schemas, right? Like at a glance, you might say, hey, like there's no similarities between music and programming or art. But if you look deep enough, you'll find things that are very similar to it. And by finding those similarities, it becomes easier for you to connect those two into one general thing. And then, yeah, maybe there's some things that are a bit further away that require much more work. But as you build these connections, you start building a road towards it. I think the biggest example, or the simplest way of describing it is like you have, let's say, a car, right? And you learn how to drive a car. Not cats, car. So you learn how to drive a car, right? You learn that there's a steering wheel, there's acceleration, there's a brake, and all that kind of stuff. Well, learning to drive a truck is not that crazy compared to a car. Like, it's mostly the same except with minor differences. And then learning to drive a motorcycle, okay, it's even more significantly different. But if you have these things to work off of, it's not like you're starting from zero. And these overlaps are super helpful. You know, the cost of like acquiring these adjacent skills are lower because there's a lot of relational stuff. Now, if you want to learn how to drive or operate let's say a helicopter, okay, this is fundamentally outside of this scope, right? So there's a bigger cost for you to build that schema. But like everything, there's like ways to get to it. And with the idea of like music and software, for example, like yeah, they seem different in general, but then there's overlapping ideas like architecture and structure and managing complexity and all this kind of stuff. And likewise with music and art, there's a lot of overlap between music and art, between tension and release, and how that ties to contrast and values. And in a weird way, the same way you think about music starts translating to art. And of course, there's things that are different, but finding those connections helps the transition of ideas between those two. It's a very cool thing. It's tied to this idea called germane load within cognitive load theory. So if that's something that interests you guys, that's a thing you can search up, cognitive load theory. Yep, and these three different things between intrinsic, extrinsic, and germane load. Pretty cool stuff, dude. But yeah, so it's one of those things where, yeah, some of this stuff might take a while to learn or pick up or to really ingrain it into you. But once you do, the next thing you pick up will be a bit easier. Which is pretty rad. Where do you buy those gears? I want to try out when I get to college. Which gear specifically? We're talking about this, or we're talking about the split keyboard, or we're talking about audio equipment. That's very, very different. Yeah, let me know specifically what you have in mind or interested in, and I can give you the deets. You have definitely earned my sub. I appreciate it, Jimmy. I appreciate it. Hopefully I can have more help in the future. Or more, I guess, insight? I don't know. I'm just a dude. It's kind of crazy, man, how there's like levels to this. Like, in a weird way, I used to think, like, when I was in college or even high school, that professional programmers are wizards and they're all like capable of the same stuff. But I started realizing that, like, oh, they're kind of like Pokemon. They have like different strengths and weaknesses. Oh man. So this is what? This is for, let's document it for my own purposes. This is for just general direction of the player where they're looking. And then we should have one for actual hit. So this should be end hit. So did I not call it? Oh, I just called it hit. That makes more sense. The CRT and the old keyboard. Oh, so okay, so this is, I picked these up. So CRTs in general, like I find them on Facebook Marketplace. But these two, the mouse, the keyboard, the CRT, these guys, I actually got them from this event that happens annually. And it happens in different parts in the US. I'm not, and it's probably, like there's other events like this abroad, I imagine. It's called VCF, Vintage Computer Festival. And within Vintage Computer Festival, it just passes past weekend, but it usually happens every year September, and they have one down south. Let me actually type it. Vintage Computer Festival. It's a really sick area where people come and they sell and showcase a bunch of old tech, and there's a bunch of talks. There's like a little concert that happens. It's pretty sick. But yeah, and it was in Schaumburg, Illinois. So if that's possible for you, I definitely recommend going out to it. But if you cannot go to these, that's understandable. I know in the Midwest there's monthly events for vintage fairs where you can find these kind of things, and they're not really expensive. You can find it for like for $50 or $40. I got this for like I think $5 or $15. There's you can last time I went, you could buy a box of these keyboards for $25. It was crazy. Wow, you did not sleep? I actually slept very early today. I like ate food and then crashed at 7 p.m. And then I woke up at 1 a.m. So we're gonna be up for a while, and then I'm probably gonna take a nap before I go to do some work today. But yeah, vintage computer festivals. Definitely look for them. You'll find some really good stuff for pretty cheap, honestly. And I have to fight the urge to buy. Last time I went, I had to fight the urge to buy another CRT because I already have 3. I have like one here, one there, and then I have another one over there. But like, they're so cool. How could I not? How could I not get another one? I had to fight it. I should have bought another keyboard though, but that's neither here nor there. Next time, next year, we'll get some more. But yeah, but in doubt, Facebook Marketplace. You can find some really good stuff for pretty cheap, surprisingly. But also, yeah, it's always good to see you, Kieran. Check it out if I could travel to the US. Okay. Hey, wherever you are, try searching for vintage festivals or things like that. You never know, man. Never know. Though if you're looking for the best deals, it's usually just marketplaces. Because a lot of times there's people who just don't care about this stuff that are willing to even give it out for free, which is pretty sick. That's usually the good stuff. So this should be initialized to null. N should be what? What did I set N to? Yeah, just forward. Which is fine, I guess, but I think I'd rather multiply this by like, I don't know, 100, maybe 50. And let's set the colors for these lines. So the hit line color, let's set this to blue. And then for the hit, we're gonna do, let's say, red. We're gonna have to wait for domain to recompile. I paid way too much for my CRT to go into the game room. Couldn't find anything within 3 hours within me. Tragic. That's tragic. Sometimes it be like that, man. Honestly, I kind of become a CRT, like a CRT Santa Claus. Like, I think the way I'm going to justify buying a bunch of CRTs is that I'll buy a bunch and just give them away. That'll be the only way I can justify it. Either that or I can make a huge set piece and have a wall of just these screens just for a background. Alright, let's see if we can actually view our gizmo on runtime. So let's just see where the player is looking. So they're looking here. There should be a collision there. Let's pause. Let's switch to here. And let's go onto the player. Is there any kind of drawing that's happening? Okay. Interesting. So our lines are not parallel at all. So one's looking over there. So what's going on here? So the line is hitting it. Our raycast is hitting something. It is hitting this, it would seem. I don't know why our blue line's all the way over there though. That's kind of odd that our direction's like wrong, but weirdly enough, like the calculation is still correct. But we're still not displaying it, so it's leading me to believe that maybe our logic here isn't great. Right now that I realize it's about 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. over here. Oh snap. Yeah, it must be a good day for Kieran. You get to pop into the stream during a reasonable hour for you. I'm surprised you pop in as much as you do. $200 AUD. Oh my goodness, around $130 USD worth. Oh yeah, 100%. I would probably still pay that price if that was the only way to get a CRT. In all honesty, I'm so mad. I'm starting to feel like regret. I should have bought a couple of CRTs over there. I should have bought it. It's okay. When I come back, I'm gonna go into a huge I don't even know. We're gonna figure something out. I'll probably start raiding all these vintage festivals and buying stuff. Oh, but you know what, honestly, as much as I want to get more CRTs, I do want to get more retro consoles. I have like my PlayStation collection complete. We have like the PS1, 2, 3, 4. It's good. I mean, I have to buy some games for those libraries, but they exist. I have them at the very least. Maybe I should become a Sega boy and start getting a Genesis and some other stuff like that. I don't know, but I feel like I want to enjoy these consoles before I buy another one. You know? Like, why have so much stuff if you can't save for it? I need to enjoy my PS1 and 2 more, and there's a huge backlog of games to play on there. Hit, transform, position, look target. If it's not null, we deactivate it. And then bounds. If bounds not null. Actually, we should just have this here. We only do this if the current bounds we're looking at isn't null. So the one we're actually looking at something, and we deactivate the current target that's adjacent to the other one, and then I wonder if this is colliding with the bounds we're currently in. I haven't even considered that, because we're doing a raycast, but we're doing a raycast from within the box. So usually raycasts are not going to collide with the inside of geometry. They're going to only collide with the outside. So if the raycast direction is parallel with the normal of this surface, it's just going to go through it and it's not going to register it. But if there's a surface facing away against it, with the normal facing against it, that would collide. So this should be correct logic. So I'm just hoping maybe this was just what's going on. I was just deactivating it every single frame, and then one frame I eventually left it. But look target equals bounds, activate bounds, hit transform and get component, occlusion bounds. Okay, I'm hoping this is it. I'm hoping this is the missing sauce we need here. Boris, I appreciate it, man. It's an IBM. It's from 1985. It's a specific odd model, because this connector isn't a normal DIM5. It's something else. So I have to get this Soars adapter for it. And then it also has all these extra keys that you can use and remap to do a bunch of stuff. And thank you, Matt. I'm glad you dig the setup. Quite frankly, I'm also quite fond of it. When I started using this, I thought it was going to be just a novelty thing. I'm not going to actually really enjoy working or doing anything of substance in it because of how small and cramped it is, and you know. But I've actually kind of grown to really like working with it, surprisingly. I mean, it's also part of like, because I do Unity for my day job as well, so you got to do something to spice it up. You got to spice it up in some way or fashion, right? So still not activating. Very weird. Yeah, I also got the IBM mouse to match. A little IBM mouse with the 2 buttons. But yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, still not doing the occlusion. So let me just confirm. Like, let's just confirm this explicitly, or make it obviously visual for myself. So gay. Brother, I have not heard an insult like that since... it's not really an insult, but I haven't heard that since middle school, dog. That's kind of a crazy throwback. Sphere, so this should be center, and then we set the radius here. Yeah, that should be fine. A radius of 0.5. Should do a setup video. You know, I'll be down to do that. Yeah, I have a kind of a crazy. It's kind of a madness. Okay, like there's a lot of crazy things going on here in the background that you may not notice, because like on top of that there, I also have like this CRT with a VHS player and my PS2 and 3 games there. That's also has like feeding the signal over here to deal with the power conditioning. But then also we go to the left, you have like the mixing boards, the audio interface that's running stuff, and then like the laptop that's actually doing all the audio processing and signal stuff, because Linux isn't great when it comes to proprietary audio stuff, which is very tragic, but it is what it is. I remember even asking the guy at like a Guitar Center, like, "Hey, really jank stuff. Can you make an Apollo work on a Linux?" I think that was above his pay grade. But yeah, fun stuff. What project are you working on right now? So I'm working on a game called Messy Mansion, or okay, codename Messy Mansion. And it's kind of right now I'm working on following up on a prototype I did on Newgrounds, which is still up right now. If you guys want to, like, I don't recommend it, but like it does exist. It can be played. But I did a very rough prototype of this game for an event called Low Poly Day on Newgrounds, and I got a lot of feedback from there. I took a little break, and now I'm kind of going back to work on this to make it actually good, because this prototype was kind of terrible in a lot of ways. It's kind of bad. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit more and maybe try to... Yeah, let me show you some of the gameplay though. Can I like zoom this in to be full screen? Collapse? No. Whatever. So if you want to see a more HD version of the game, or like what the game looked like at some point, here it is. And it's a very simple premise of a game. Yeah, you can't see that because I'm zoomed in. Yeah, the controls suck. The people are right. These controls suck. Now that I'm playing it. But yeah, so I'm revisiting this and addressing some performance concerns from people, because I want to make sure this game works on like very low-end hardware as well. Yeah. And then there's a bunch of other things I want to do. Like, you might have noticed that, maybe you didn't notice, probably did notice, but this is I wrote my own lighting and rendering pipeline for this. I'm not using Unity's standard stuff for a bunch of different reasons. For like vertex lighting, it allows me to pre-compute lighting in a very small format, so that people don't have to pay the price of recalculating lighting every single frame, the way it's normally done for dynamic lights, and it looks better in my opinion than the bake lighting that Unity does. But yeah, and then of course some cool sprite effects that we have going on here. But yeah, this is the game that we're working on, and we're trying to make it look pretty, trying to make it work better, run better. I'm gonna make better mechanics, and then add some better focus to it. A lot to improve upon. If that's for music production or just processing audio, oh yeah, it's for a bunch of things. The audio equipment stuff. Like there's a reason why I have two mixing boards and an audio interface. What post processing are you using? I'm using my own. Well, for this, cause not in what I just showed you. The version of the game I showed you on Newgrounds is not using any particular post. It's not using any post processing beyond what we've done for rendering for the surfaces and stuff. For this version of the game I'm working on, the latest, I have my own post processing effect stuff. So I have one to do a CRT effect, and then I have another one to do transitions and things like that. So when the player dies, we do a transition effect. It's kind of busted right now. I'm not sure what I did. I did something recently to break it. Let me see if I can repair it though. If not, it's okay. But ideally, this should work. And if not, I think I could probably futz around with the parameters to make it look good. Or to make it actually visible. Because I think it just displays a black screen right now. Yeah, and it does. And I'm not sure why that's the case. Field of view. That's for the camera. That's for the CRT. Let's go to the properties. And you can choose like the pixel you want to use. Why is this being so weird? Yeah, there's something we have to deal with here. There's some oddities going on here. Maybe it's because there's a transition effect thing and I haven't. Yeah, let me see if I can modify the shader real quick. If I can just get, because I think the transition thing is the offending culprit here. So I get rid of that. Yay! Yeah, you can kind of see it. Let me zoom out a little bit. Actually, I think this is resolution dependent, so I have to actually make it like an actual high res one. Oh, yeah, I still have, okay, I have to change this pixel size then for this to look good. Where is the pixel size? Yeah, we can make this smaller. Brother, what's going on here? 1 second. Okay, that's something. It's always visible. Do you have a GitHub? I do. I do have a GitHub with a remake. Hey, I appreciate it. From the default Unity pipeline? No. It's my own custom thing. I use it for another game called Crimson Crown, which I worked on before this game. I haven't published it because that game is much more ambitious than this game, and I felt the need to actually get a simple game done first before moving on to something more complicated. But yeah, I just kind of recycled the same CRT shader from there. It's pretty cool because you can swap out like the pixel stuff and it just works in real time. And you can add something like a glitch effect. This does not look, in my opinion, like it looks cool, but it's not a CRT. It's definitely not a CRT thing, but it is what it is. And I think there's like different things we can do too, like modifying edge colors and a bunch of stuff. There's a lot of parameters to play around with. To Wayland? Maybe? I don't really know much about DX11 versus Wayland and stuff like that. I hear a lot of people dig Wayland, but three-leg chair. Hey, I appreciate you hanging out for the time you did, though. Right? You have a good one. take care, and hopefully I see you in future streams. But yeah, I do have a GitHub. It's just that most of my stuff is private. But okay, if you have any particular... Hi, I'm back. Good to see you back, Cinnamon Roll. If you have any particular like selling points for Roland, hit me up. Just let me know. Like, just hit me with that sales pitch. I'm all for it. What's up, Diet Mountain Crew? Good to see you. All right, at least we have that somewhat working, though the transition manager isn't working as desired, but hey, it's okay. We'll get there eventually. The biggest thing is seeing where the sphere is being drawn and why this isn't activating. And I could do the cool thing and have like the debugger work, but yeah, we'll see what happens. 1 second. One second. Hello, what? Hi, TR Deadshot. Good to see you. And I believe someone joined the Discord, I think. Hey, welcome. Well, let me just show this here. I don't know how to pronounce this. But I welcome you either way. Dude. I welcome you. Alright, back to the debbing though. Just going through, it's late and my programming project brain is offline for the night. Hey, that's sick. Yeah, I'm kind of surprised. It's quite a number of people here, man. Hey, welcome as well, Penguin. Yeah, I'm kind of surprised by the number of people here. Hopefully you guys make yourself cozy and comfy at home. I was digging for a GitHub page. You should be able to type in Trixelbit. Oh, it's so weird. I used to go by Trixelbit on my like streaming and stuff, and then I made this new game studio page and everything. Yeah, Trixelbit. You should be able to find my GitHub from there. I don't really have much. I think I have some game engine stuff public on there, like the one I did in Rust. But, we moved to C. Though the new ASCII game engine I'm working on, I do kind of want to make that just accessible. But yeah, as far as the shader stuff, I don't know. A lot of this stuff is closed source because I have my own internal development kit for Cozy Cabin Games, but I don't know, maybe I might just release some of these components out so people can use it. Hit, transform, bounds. Alright, we're gonna do the simple thing of just debugging, logging this and just seeing how it works. The setup monitor is fire. Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate it. I'm constantly finding myself in an in-between phase on my projects where I honestly need a team. Nice to watch others sometimes. Yeah, I feel that. I mean, it's kind of like a volatile thing. But like lately, sometimes I'm like at laying down, I'm like, man, I'm tired. I did so much coding today. Cause like, I love programming, dude. I'm super like, that's my trade, and I take a lot of pride in it, right? And I like getting better at it. But sometimes I'm like, I'm all right. I've exhausted my stores today, and then like, it's the most random thing because usually my YouTube feed is like, is either some educational stuff, it's like urban exploration stuff and whatever. But every now and then, I see like a Terry Davis clip. He's talking about like, I don't know, some risk compilation for CISC or something like that, or CISC to risk. I forgot what it was. I'm like, you know what? I should really maybe. We should keep pushing, man. Why stop at making a game engine? I could just work. I can make my own game console OS. We can make my own operating system. And why stop there? Why not just make my own hardware while we're at it? Like, why stop there, dude? It's new. So it's no, it's not new. It's retro. It's original. All this stuff is original. Like this is from 1985. This guy, I'm not sure when, but it's very much pre-2000, I think. It's amazing. You can go to a retro festival and you'll find like a lot of good hardware for relatively cheap. So much respect. Thank you, man. But yeah, I kind of feel that too, Diet Mountain Crew, because like there's a lot of code projects I have. Like I have this game, and then I also have this game engine I'm working on, which one sea lion chugs, yep. Like I have this whole game engine project, so I can do game development the way I want to, and have my development workflow be conformed to my image. Ooh, that's new. There's a compile error. When did that happen? I don't think I've done any changes since last time. Failed. Oh, it's because, do I have stuff? Is it because I have stuff running? Are you mad at me for doing that? Oh well. Just take my word for it. There's an engine that exists somewhere, and then on top of that, like that, and then on top of that, like there's the game website, the Cozy Cabin Games website, which is because of course I like doing things on my own. I use my own types. I wrote my own TypeScript library to like, or framework to do like this reactive interface and have it feel and interact like a kind of like Unity. Because why not? Why not do that? And then on top of that, like, so many projects, dude. So many projects. So many projects. And then on top of, like, there's so many other games I've worked on and been designing that I just need to finish and do, like, yeah. But, the thing is, though, like, you might see that and be like, all right, this guy clearly has ADHD. He's never going to get anything done in his life. But honestly, sometimes you have to do stuff like this just so you enjoy programming and don't get burnt out. I said hi. Hey, Bouchon. Sorry, I haven't been reading chat as much as I should be. Pirate Software can never. Pirate Software, yeah. Pirate Software is, that's interesting, dude. That was a whole saga, ain't it? 20 gigs of RAM inside that thing. I think it's Linux. Yeah, it's definitely Linux. Yeah, I'm using Ubuntu, but then I'm using i3 to do all the window management stuff, and then I'm using PyCom. If you want to like try having the same setup I do, I have my repos public here on GitHub. Yeah, so if I can find it. I don't know. Repositories. Yeah, I have my i3. Yeah, so I have my terminal theme, my PyCom if you want to have the same transparency effect, and then I have i3, my general i3 configuration file here. Simple swap in, good to go. Should just work. Yeah, I have a bunch of stuff here actually. What is even public? I don't even know. Yeah, this needs to be updated because it's very much not up to date. Yeah, so many different. Jeez, okay. It's not gonna look at that. So many projects, man. 20 gigs of RAM inside the thing. It was between university lecture, just got done, but shocked to see you on this at the time. Yeah, it's kind of crazy, man. Like which one I like this. Yeah, it's Ubuntu. It's Ubuntu. Just Ubuntu and then install i3 and you're good to go. 11 a.m. over here. Late hour, boys. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, it's like, what? It's 8 a.m. right now? No, is it 8 a.m.? I don't even know. I don't even have my phone. See, that's how life should be, guys. We should forget that we have phones. Not be owned by them. Alright, I have this whole thing set up. And let's close this as well, because I don't want to eat up more RAM that I have. I know I have 64 gigs, but IntelliJ softwares are super thick. IntelliJ softwares are so thick, dude. It's crazy. Those boys are chunky. Okay, and we should be... So I'm looking at a boundary here. We're going to pause. This should be activated because I'm looking at it, but it's not activating. And it's showing that there is a collision here from the player's camera to here. So we are colliding. We are colliding. Gotta hop off. See you guys next time. Hey, Jimmy, you have a good one. I appreciate your company, and I'll catch you in the next stream, hopefully. So, okay, there's clearly... This is not a physics thing or a camera collider or trigger thing. This is a skill issue. That is what we're encountering, is a skill issue. Now let's confirm the severity of our skill issue and see if we must change things. So let's ignore these issues because it's actually from Linux. And interesting. I'm seeing a bunch of state machine stuff in the player, but I'm not seeing the log we added. Yeah, we added this print statement and new selected bounds. So these conditions are being met, which it seems like because there's hit speed is happening. Or maybe it's not. Maybe hit is happening, but this isn't being met. The bounds is not, is actually null. When we do bounds.getComponent, we're not finding this occlusion bound, which might be the issue actually. Because I'm not seeing... Yeah, we're not seeing this new selected bound, so I'm going to assume that even though we're hitting stuff, it's not the things, it's not having the component we want. So that brings up the next question. Okay, if we're not finding that, let's see what we're actually hitting, because I'm assuming we should have that, but we're not. I'm sorry, where is my... Oh, it's compiling, that's why. Said hi. What's up, Akash? How you doing? Make a Def Jam for PC. Remake Def Jam Fight for New York for PC. Gotta bring it back, man. The classic American fighting game. Japan has Street Fighter. We have Def Jam. We need to bring back that national treasure. What would a modern Def Jam even look like, though? Alright, let's see what we got going on here. What problems do we face? Okay. So again, now this should be hitting something. Let's confirm it. Are we hitting something? Yes, we are. Beautiful. Let's see what this says in our console. Hit target. Oh, I'm dumb. I'm a little bit dumb, aren't I? Yeah, because I forgot to do the name. Yeah, it's just gonna print out the game object, which is not what we want. All right, let's try it again. Let's do a simple run. Let's see here. Go. Okay. We look 1 second. Why is this? Why is everything rendering now? I don't... What? Wait, why is this working? It should not be working. Actually, it's not working. Because it's rendering everything. It should not be rendering everything. What is going on? I didn't change anything. I didn't change anything. And yet the... Alright, first of all, let's move this stuff out of the way. Yeah, we're just gonna exit this. Exit this. The less I have to manage, the better. Okay, beautiful. What is going on? That should not be happening. Unless there's an exception happening before, in which case, okay. Oh, maybe an exception is happening. Yeah, we should do, to be safe, we should do hit.transform.name. Okay, that should... I was hoping that I just fixed this issue, but that's, I wouldn't trust that either way. Bugs that got fixed by adding a print log don't seem like actual bug fixes. Okay, so now it's behaving, the bug is replicating again. Okay, it should be hitting stuff, and now we should be able to see the object we're hitting, and then we can understand. Oh, we're hitting a lock-on reporter, and that's not gonna have stuff on it. And this should be these things. It's on the occlusion layer though. Okay, we're learning more. So why is this happening even though we're using our this collision mask, this bit mask? I'm pretty sure I'm doing things correctly. We're on layer 12, occlusion, we bit shift it. We bit shift the 1 to the left by the layer count. We do the complement of it. So the only way this could be causing issues is if the lock-on reporter has the same layer, but it doesn't. It doesn't. So this is very weird that this raycast would be colliding with this. That seems incorrect and wrong. So a simple gut thing to do is just get rid of that complement and try this again. Maybe just doing the inversion was not what we needed. So we're just gonna try running it again. And hopefully this works. If not, there is an error in my understanding. It already seems to be not working. It already seems to be not working. Now, what are you hitting now? There's actually no hit. It's not hitting anything. So that's even stranger. Okay. And if we look at the scene, this seems to corroborate that assessment, because I'm not seeing any hits whatsoever. Yeah. Okay. So why is the raycast going over there? Okay, we're not going to worry about that. Oh, I know why. That's not a big deal. Okay, no. We're still fine. Okay, so I'm assuming this complement thing is correct. We're gonna do something that we haven't done yet. We're gonna Google. Because I thought I knew how this works, but apparently I don't. So we're gonna do Unity raycast layer mask to make sure we can do a raycast that only tests against a set layers. I believe I have the right idea, but you never know. It's always good to refresh a little bit. So how does Buddy do this? She's asking a question, I think. And then he's just doing the bit shifts. To mask that one layer. Yeah, we shifted. Oh, do I have it backwards? Oh, I think I have it backwards. Oh, it's no. No. I'm good. I'm good. Oh, brother. Okay. Adding graphics to show off, but okay, whatever. So he's doing an OR complement on those things. So you're shifting, gain the bit for this value and then that value, and then doing an OR to have those bits be combined into one 32-bit mask. Yep, and then to flip every bit. Okay, and I believe I'm doing those things. Okay. So I believe I am indeed right. This is how we do this layer mask. We have our occlusion layer. We shift it. Small screen. I have a 3x bigger one and still struggled. Do you have any tips? I think the biggest help from working within a very restricted space is just having a good system for managing context switching. So like, if you're working in Windows 11 or something, or a windowed or something that behaves similar to that, then it may not be as, you can still do it like the alt tabbing and whatnot. That's what I do for work since I can't escape window. Bill Gates still has me. But in situations like this, having like one context just take up the whole screen and just be able to switch between them fluidly, as opposed to having multiple windows visible, it's definitely helpful. Beyond that, there's just a fine tuning of like changing text size. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think I have anything else beyond just i3. i3, and then, you know, stuff like Vim's whole tab switching thing. Yeah. The more that your real estate can just focus on one context and focus only on that, and the ease to switch between contexts, the better it is. And also like just having things to help navigate, like depending on what you're using, sometimes going to a definition can be really annoying, but with IDs like this, I have the luxuries of things like go to, like control bracket, for example. Oh, actually I don't want to do those. I want to do this one. I can do like, go onto a definition, do control close bracket, and it'll take me to whatever defines that. So like, if I'm working in this occlusion manager, and you probably already know this, but that's the only thing that comes to mind. If I'm working on something and I'm like, oh, I want to go modify this, usually I think about in terms of just going to that and then navigating through it. And beyond that, there's also like the whole shift, double shift, and then typing up whatever class you want to go to. So if I want to go to like, I don't know, mesh generator, I can just do that. Yeah. Any effort I can do to eliminate UI and navigation, the better. That's why I also like things like Ranger. Because anytime I can just navigate in a way that, you know, like in Windows, this will be like a separate window on top of everything that I have to navigate and go through and kind of manage back and forth. But yeah, it's pretty. Did I open something? Okay, no, I just navigated out. Yeah, I guess that's the most general advice I can give. Anything beyond that, I think I'd need to like know more about your, I guess it's kind of a UX mindset, right? I'd have to know more about your setup and your workflow and what ails you in particular and go from there. And this is why the end thing wasn't looking right. It's because we didn't make it the position relative to, the position was just a delta, the vector. It wasn't relative, the position relative to the start position, which is why we had to do this. And now those vectors should actually look correct. So that's a good thing. The second thing is that physics raycast seems to be working. Now we just have this weird predicament of like colliding with things that should not be collided with. Yeah, I'm glad that helps. Let me hear that keyboard real quick. I got you. We'll just do some more navigation. There you go. That good enough for you? What language do you code in? A bunch of languages. This one is currently C# for Unity stuff. But if I'm doing my engine work, it's in C or C++. Yeah, do I type in cozy? Yeah, there's the engine. Actually, can I just clang it and just clang build? I did a stream where I tried learning Odin. So we made this little sinusoidal function. What is it? IBM keyboard. It's an IBM keyboard. Classic 1985 IBM keyboard. To have a tool like Ranger but didn't find, thanks so much. Hey, I'm glad you found it. Yeah, Ranger's fantastic. Vim bindings, it's great. But yeah, so C++, sometimes I like, so C++ for my engine stuff. And then I used to use Rust. So I have this other engine I started working on in Rust. And yeah. So cargo, let's do cargo run. Ooh. What's going on here? Why did there thread paddock? Do I have too many things going on? Is that why Rust is not any of these? Every time I try compiling these engines, they're not working for whatever reason. That would be so lame if that's what's going on here. Because that's what happened with the other engine, and that's never happened. I haven't done any changes, so I don't think it's a compile issue. But yeah, I stopped using Rust because I've developed strong opinions about how I like to program recreationally. Heck, even professionally, but yeah, and Rust just kind of forces it. It's a problem. Like, the thing is, with Rust, I want to program fast. What's the best way to learn Python? Okay. Shadow, I don't want to be mean. In fact, I'm not being mean, all right? Because I personally do not like imperative languages that much, or dynamically typed languages that much. But if you do want to learn Python, it's kind of the same thing as a bunch of other, like any other programming languages, which is just pick a project you want to do, and you're going to have to Google a bunch to make that project come true, because you're going to start with a project you don't know anything about. For example, like a very general thing. I didn't know. I was like, all right, I want to make a game engine. What does it take to make a game? What does it take to make a simple 2D platformer within a from scratch? Oh, I have to learn stuff about like how to draw a triangle first. Let's learn OpenGL, and we start there, and then you start Googling and finding different projects. But if you're trying to learn Python and you don't have a background in programming, that can be kind of daunting, because like there's a bunch of foundational things about programming you want to learn. Like you probably want to learn things like, what is a data type? What are methods? Well, I guess data types don't apply in Python as much, but having that idea of structures and how things are organized is super important. And getting familiar with that. So I guess before I even go into it, like what's your experience with programming? Not Rust, yeah. Why is your team just for vibes? Yeah, just for the vibes, Kevin. Just for the vibes. Also, just different, because like, keep in mind, my day job, I'm doing Unity programming for like 8 hours, sometimes more than that, 12 hours or beyond. And I get off and I want to do some more code programming, some more work on my games and other stuff like that, because I enjoy it. But you got to do something to spice it up. And if I can't escape Unity, I might as well just change the way I work with it. And that's how we end up here. Yeah, this is very odd. This raycast, the fact that this raycast is hitting things it shouldn't be. Let me get rid of this collider trigger parameter. Actually, no, because I need these things I'm making on the bounds are actually, if I look at them, they are triggers. But yeah, trigger is trigger true. We set the layer to occlusion layer. Yeah, we're attaching to this game object, yeah. So things should be correct, but I'm not sure. Python is good for a beginner and like to start, but you eventually learn more languages. Python is quick too. Yeah, Python gets you started, but here's the thing, right? And I have very strong, this is a very strong opinion. Most people are not going to agree with it, but I think it's actually very important. I think, and maybe I'm biased because my first language is C++, and then I quickly dropped it for GML, but I still like learned the basics through C++. I think there's value in starting on a language like C, for example. Because I think once you start thinking, you start like when you work with those languages, yeah, you can't do things as quickly, and you're probably gonna be stuck doing something very basic. And maybe you switch from that language to a more powerful language like Python, where you can do more advanced things quickly. But I think having a language that enforces the idea of, hey, there's these things that actually live physically in your computer, and there's some ideas like, hey, these are laid out in memory in some kind of way, is important. It's important to kind of understand the idea of like, hey, these are data structures, these are your nodes, and there's an idea of like passing by reference versus passing by value. I think those are super important. And even if you learn those and then drop the language immediately, I think having that knowledge is going to shape how you interact with things and how you deal with structures. Because I think the reason I don't like things like JavaScript or Python is because it makes you feel very disconnected from what's actually going on your computer. And when you're in the very critical process of learning how to program, that very weird finagly area can be kind of put you in this state of like almost learned helplessness, because I went through that. But yeah, that's my opinion. Yeah, like Python is, I'm not going to say it's a bad language. I even use it for my engine to rebuild, to do some dynamic code stuff, C++ generation. First language is C. C gang gang. Escape Unity and load up Unreal Engine. Nah, brother. Why unload? Why use an engine? Why use someone's engine when I could just write my own engine? Why do that in the first place? So inspiring. Hey, Nicola, I'm glad, man, to learn that stuffs. But I don't know where to start. I got jealous of what you do, but keep it up. Hey, brother, Miggy. Here's a secret, right? Not a secret. I've talked about it a bunch. But I didn't thought I would be a professional programmer. Like, for the longest time, I've been doing music production and art as my main thing. Let's go to Newgrounds. I thought for the longest time that, like, programming would be a miserable thing for me. I wouldn't enjoy it. And I didn't have the capacity to. I felt very dumb, right? And only through, like, having to do coding for my games, and then using GML, Game Maker Language, and then having, like, did some college courses that I actually started going down this pipeline. And only when I got my actual current job did I really, like, start, like, all right, this is my trade. I'm going to start taking pride and work on it. Yeah, but, like, for the longest time, I did contract art, pixel art, game art for a bunch of different projects and commissions and contracts and stuff like that. And then a bunch of music production as well. But, yeah, I felt very helpless. And the thing is, I've been programming since middle school, but through middle school and high school, I kind of stagnated in programming. And only really did I start, like, growing as a programmer once I got my first job. And even then, every job I've been hired for, I've been super underqualified for. So I had to, like, substitute a lot of my personal time to start getting good at this. And when you start doing that, you start actually enjoying this and growing to love it. Does leak code matter? Kind of, but not really. For an interview, probably it's going to get you exposed to a bunch of simple interview problems that may or may not be common. And, it might be a nice way to kind of force yourself to tackle a range of different problems. But in terms of, like, your substance, in terms of the value you bring to a project, LeetCode doesn't really matter as much, because LeetCode just focuses on, like, LeetCode says, here's a black box, and you're just going to have to figure out how to implement the stuff within this black box. And it's important to be able to do that kind of thing, but a lot of the big important things that happen in software engineering aren't about black boxes exclusively. It oftentimes is about managing the complexity of these black boxes and how they interact with each other, designing these different systems and figuring out how you're going to break apart problems and tackle it. And not only that, but how are you going to do that with a team of people? Like, at work, I have to coordinate. Like, I'm leading the coordination for a big feature, and I have to make a lot of big decisions about, okay, how are we going to break this problem into smaller pieces? How are people going to coordinate? Is what I'm doing going to block other people? What are the best ways to meet the specifications for users and for the company? And that's stuff that you only get from just, like, working on projects, working on your personal projects, that kind of stuff. So, like, there's some value in LeetCode, especially if you're not too familiar with programming. But the things that really bring a lot of value and makes you much more confident when you talk to people, either in interviews or just talking shop, is, the project you have in your belt. Do you use AI? No, I do not. Very rarely. When I'm learning a new language, maybe I'll use AI, like I did that with Rust. But for actual, like, project stuff, no. I used to try giving it a try, but I found AI has become much more of a liability. I don't want to update my system. Why use an engine when you can make your own engine? Classic low-level programmer. I actually became a programmer in the same way. Wanted to make games, so I had to learn programming. Yep, I feel like that's most people. Like, most programmers I know, they didn't like say, I'm gonna be a software engineer, mom. They're like, no, I want to make games, and then software engineering is the evil I have to do to make that happen. How many cups are on your table? Just 2 cups. Actually, no, there's more than that. There's this cup here. I have this candle. Should I want to set the mood? You know, sometimes you want to code in a very relaxed state, and you want to smell some redwood pine. Then I have a cup here for miscellaneous things, and then this cup here for just pencils and sharpeners, and then this big boy here. Oh my goodness, I have a cup here with tea, a tea bag there, and I'm not sure how long that's been there. Yeah, we're not going to look at that petri dish. And like 10 years ago, knowing while loop can get you a high salary, but now it's only about algorithms, leak code, but actually application skills and integration, communication. Yeah, that's like the biggest thing, is like your ability to manage complexity and coordinate with other people. The evil you learn to love. Yep, programming. Yeah, but it's also addictive in a strange way. I've grown to love programming, dude. I really have. Yeah, I think I actually very much do enjoy programming. I think the things about programming that oftentimes isn't fun isn't actually the coding itself, but oftentimes like the coordination with other people sometimes, or the coordination with abstraction that is outside of your control. And when I say that, I mean that like when you're using tools written by other people, they want you to do things a specific way. But because they've force that method upon you, sometimes you might have a problem that needs to be done a different way, but then this forces you to do things a different way. Or it doesn't work well with you. Like I know a big issue I have a lot of times is with C# and .NET and garbage collection and managing references and managing assets, and sometimes you end up with like 4 levels of reference counting, which is crazy, but like, and you can't guarantee it works correctly because there's some things that they do that you just can't control. But like, how important is leak code to understand DSA? Data structures and algorithms? Can't you just study the concepts and just program? I don't know why the big tech companies are obsessed with it. Yeah, I don't like it either. It's very odd in the background for vibes. Well, I mean, I have the thing is like I have the most I do is just the background sounds here, like the ambience. I don't like doing too music because I like to leave the door open for other people to put their own music in the background, but I don't know, maybe I'll do some chill music sometime. Either way, Penguin, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate it, man. You have a good one. Really limit what I can do, and we're made for a specific thing in mind, even though theoretically they can be more abstract in general. Yeah. And I think that's where the rub is. As for what I'm working on, Omi, I'm working on a game, or at a very high level is I'm working on a game called Messy Mansion or Stain World, or I'm going to change it at some point. It's a 2.5D pixel platforming game about cleaning up stuff. As far as the concrete thing I'm working on, I'm actually working on this occlusion culling system where we only render the environment that the player is currently in, so we don't make the player pay for overdraw and chug when they turn around. That was a big issue with a specific reviewer of the game I did last time, or the prototype. That's a specific thing we're working on, and I'm trying to work on having not only the current area be rendered, but the area you're currently looking at. And we're having this issue where, for whatever reason, when we do a raycast, it's not actually colliding with the thing. It's colliding with all these other game objects, which should not be hitting this raycast because they don't have the correct layer. They're on different layers. It's very odd. Great setup, by the way. Thank you. Feeling juicy. Yeah, we're working on it. I need to make the camera feel better. I know the big complaint was controls. The problem is that people complain about the controls, but they didn't specify what controls. Like if they're using, first of all, if they're using keyboard or gamepad, and then they don't specify like what part of the controls is so bad. Like I'm not super ego. Like I am willing, I would love to make the game better, but I kind of need some specifics. I kind of need some specifics to make the game good. Without the specifics, it's very, I don't know what to do. At least with specifics, like, yeah, my ego might get hurt, but hey, I can at least make it better. But without the specifics, my ego gets hurt, and there's nothing I can do about it. Is that same procedural generation? No, but I did have a mesh generation thing for the dirt spots. You might notice that when you look at the dirt things on the floor, let me actually like put some down for testing purposes. That it seems like a decal on the floor. Yeah, I think you can see here. Come on, buddy. Mouse. Is the game stuck? I don't know. Is that same procedural generation? Did you run a form? What's the methodology for playtesting? I guess in the very early days, I actually implemented Agile, like Agile as it's supposed to be, where I would make an update, and then in the Discord, I would put, put a link for people to test it out, and just get some feedback from there. I stopped doing that just because, I don't know, I just got busy. Or actually, I stopped doing that because I started crunching to get this game out for low poly day. And I was doing a lot of changes that weren't testable. That's something I want to bring back, though, is having like the bug testing or play testing session with people. But that's like the extent of it. And even then, I didn't even do that before the final, or yeah, not the final, but the prototype launch. But and there's also the issue where like if people play it before and they play it again, they might get biased and become also blind to it. Like I noticed when I took a long break from the game and came back, I was like, okay, I see the issues people are talking about. The camera movement doesn't feel, at least that's what I'm assuming they're complaining about, is that the camera movement doesn't feel quite good on mouse versus like gamepad and other stuff like that. You get so when you're like this to a game, you start not being able to see the issues because you're just so focused on all these other bugs. But like when you take a step back, you can see it. But yeah, sample bias is something I'm kind of, yeah. Hey, thank you for the subscription, Nicola. I appreciate it, and I hope you do well on your programming journey. And if you ever need questions or advice or anything, feel free to hit me up. I love talking about programming, and I like explaining stuff as well. I used to do a lot of mentorship stuff on a yearly basis for the game dev club at my old university. I don't know. Maybe I'll bring something up like that again. Except maybe for here. What distro are you running, sir? I am running just a simple old Ubuntu with i3. A good old simple Ubuntu i3. Keep it simple. I want to start playing around with other distros, but this has been the easiest one just to get up running and cooking. But I've been thinking about maybe doing some Pop! OS. And can you make games with C-Lang? So if you're asking in general if you can make games with C-Lang, of course you can. If you're asking if I can do that, I believe I can. I mean, I have the engine. Well, actually, important distinction. You're saying C, not C++, right? As far as C is concerned, for me, I probably could. I just never done it. I'm writing a game in C++. But for anybody who's interested in actually writing a game in C, I would recommend this video series from Casey Muratori called Handmade Hero. If you guys are interested in this kind of stuff, like if you want to learn about low-level programming and you also want to try doing coding without like worrying about graphics APIs and stuff like that and just do it bare bones the way our ancestors did programming, then Handmade Hero would be your thing. And if you're not knowledgeable about like coding in general, Casey does a great job of explaining the basic stuff, like even the tools and how to set up your own dev environment and stuff. it's very knowledgeable. So if that's of interest, there's a whole playlist. You see him make a game from scratch using just good old basic C and goes all the way through it. It's pretty cool. It's hard to say if the camera feels off without environments. Yeah, it's also hard to see if the camera's off just by watching it. Because it could look fine, but once you're using it, it might feel differently. How to learn OpenGL. OpenGL is very interesting. It's crazy how you can jump around with the keyboard. I feel like my professional career has just been me trying to figure out how to not touch the mouse as much as I can. But OpenGL. So I guess first of all, like how familiar are you with shaders? Like, have you done shaders in any other game engine and stuff like that? Because even though like I dog on Unity and whatnot, that's cool. You can see that object's still there because it's not part of the occlusion volume. I think having a good, decent grasp of shaders would be a helpful asset to you. Because shaders are very different than normal CPU code. CPU code, we're all used to serializing, like everything happens one after the other sequentially. Unless you're doing multi-threading, but most times you're not doing that. Fragment coding is very different. But if you do want to learn OpenGL, there is quite a number of stuff that you can work with. OpenGL is definitely one of the easier graphics APIs to work with. The simplest thing is finding a project. So like, learn OpenGL. If you want to learn the raw stuff, there's always like these repositories with simple demo projects in C and C++. There's a website for this, but I like looking at actual repositories that work and just going based off of that. Let me see if I can find a good GitHub repo. It also depends on your language too, because I know like every language has like their own libraries that are meant for that. So like if you're using, for example, Rust has Glium, and in their Glium package they have like example projects that will compile and run, and you can just look at it for reference. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, the book. They have a book, and each has chapters, and they show you how you can do stuff from just getting a simple triangle going to animating it and doing a bunch of stuff. And eventually doing your camera projection and just a basic rendering model. Opinion on Max Verstappen. I don't even know what Max Verstappen is. Max Verstappen. Race car driver. Brother, what? That's a very particular opinion you want me to provide. I have no idea. 27 years, $65 million, a driver. I mean, race car drivers are pretty cool. I don't know, man. I really don't know. Like, I'm scared I'm going to say, I mean, he seems like a decent dude, and you're going to tell me, oh, yeah, well, turns out he just killed an entire, I don't know, middle school in Deutschland 3 days ago. And then I'll be like, oh, well, I guess he's a bad person then. But, yeah, I don't know. He's a race car driver. That's my opinion. If there's something interesting about him, though, I would love to learn more about him from you. Here's one from left field. Opinions on QML. Okay, that's another thing I don't know. QML. A declarative markup style language. Qt company. Oh, is it for like the UI stuff? Yeah. Qt. Yeah, I was kind of interested in picking up Qt for like UI stuff. But since I'm doing, most of my applications are like using Like for UI stuff, the only thing I really look at is either I'm GUI or CLay library, which if you don't know about it, I definitely recommend checking it out. It's a pretty cool library to work with. And it's super simple, lightweight. It's a simple single header file you just throw into your project and it just works. It's very cool. There's a cool video explaining how it works. He is pro-racist? Okay, then I guess I don't like Max Verstappen then. I guess I don't like Max Verstappen. Why, did he do something recently? Like, is there something that's going on here? He's doing the Nuremberg. Nuremberg's a pretty crazy track. I'm not seeing anything crazy here. I don't know. What keyboard do you have? I use an IBM. I don't know. It's not a Model M, right? Yeah, it's a Model M keyboard. An OG from 1985. You can use the factory. You can even you can find the factory that's producing based off the serial number. Oh, 1 second. Sorry, races. He's a pro-racist. Brother. You can't make that kind of mistake. You can't confuse her. You can't like casually swap out racer for racist. Like, brother, that's so bad. Yeah, it's so many tabs. It's not that bad. It's just bad because of the resolution. We'll close some. We'll close some just for our peace of mind. We'll just close them for our peace of mind. Okay. We're still having this raycast issue though. It's very weird. So let's check to see if we even have a collider here. Well, first of all, this is colliding with things it should not be colliding with. It's colliding with triggers. We don't want to have that. The pro of the races. What are you coding, bro? I'm coding this game. 2.5D platformer, and I'm trying to figure out this occlusion culling system so that we don't have to pay for rendering. But for some reason, my raycast is correct. The raycast is correct here. We can see it. We both see it. Everyone, you see it. You see a line that's going from here to here. I see it. We see a red ball from here that's showing that it's hitting something. So like, okay, I think we're good. I think that's correct. But it's not colliding with the thing it should be colliding with. Now we have this bounding box here. But we're not seeing. No, it's the appropriate tag. It's a layer on the correct layer. Yeah. It's a trigger. Yeah. The size is wrong, but that's weird. It shouldn't be wrong. The size in all of these are wrong, actually. If it's wrong, though, then how come it works? Oh, that's weird. That's wrinkly in my brain. We're using the correct thing. Bounds.size. We're doing bounds encapsulates. I'm not sure what's going on here. Postal 2? No, but there's someone who used to come in these streams who's super about Postal 2. It's definitely an era of games that I'm kind of mimicking. I don't see it. You don't see, what don't you see specifically? Are you trying to hit everything except layer 12 or only layer 12? Yeah, only layer 12. So I have this raycast bound mask here. So we have the occlusion layer, which is layer 12, and we want to only hit it. So I bit shift it, the 1 over 12 bits, and then we do the complement of that. And then in the actual physics raycast we're doing here. We pass in the ray, we have the output of the hit, we have our max distance, we have the occlusion mask, which is that bit mask we have there, and then we have this interaction trigger collide, which shouldn't override the layer mask. Local scale? No, so we don't want to mess with the transform for the bounds. That's the weird thing. Not the weird thing, it's kind of, so each occlusal bounds, we get all the child renderers of it. And then we register it with the occlusion manager. Then we iterate through all the child renderers, and we start with this bounding box. We instantiate it if it's null, if it's the first item. And then we keep growing the bounds to encapsulate each renderer's bounding box. And that should result in the bounding box that perfectly encapsulates everything. The bound should be positioned in world space, so the center position and the size should be in world space. Which is why I don't want to modify the transform, because the transform for these bounds should be at origin. There should be an identity matrix, but the actual bounds is going to be what's in space and correct. Which is why the trigger, the collider. Oh, but there's a weird thing where oh no, it's not weird, because even though this bounds in the world space and the collider is technically, oh, I just did center twice. Oh, brother. Okay, actually, no, that's not, because I did size before, though, so that's not the issue. That's not the bug here. That's just a bug. Maybe it was the bug, actually. Actually, maybe it's just that. It shouldn't be inverted. Oh, it shouldn't. In the meantime, opinions on that? Opinions on Silksong? Yeah, guys, Silksong's kind of mid. It's kind of a bad game. No, I'm playing. Actually, and don't kill me over this. Don't kill me over this. I haven't even played the original. I haven't really played the original. Whatchamacallit? Hollow Knight. I played like an hour or two, and I just never got around to finishing it. All right, so it shouldn't be inverted. Let me try that out then. Get rid of the tilde. Oh, I shouldn't have done that change while. That would make sense, just because these things that shouldn't be colliding with the raycast are colliding, which would indicate that the layer mask isn't doing its thing correctly. So we look over here, nothing, and we search for hit. Hey, so you were right, because now we're hitting our correct target. And so thank you, I appreciate it, Steph. Big brain, let's go. Now we just have to figure out why this is not calling that. But hey, we're on the board right now. We're on the board. And if we look in the scene, that should be, this should be a raycast hit somewhere. Well, actually, I'm not seeing the raycast hit. Strange. Okay. Let's check something out. Let me clear this. And it's hitting it. Yeah. And it's in the correct direction. I'm not seeing the hit thing though. That's a bit strange, but it's fine. Said hi. Hey, I'm a vibe coder. Oh my goodness. I'm a Python coder. Add Max Verstappen to your game, please. Max Verstappen, brother. We're gonna add a Max Verstappen shrine. Is that what's just gonna happen to us here? It's not even a racing game. He's just gonna show up there. He's You're just gonna have an NPC that says, "Hey, I'm Max Verstappen." You know, honestly, you know what? This is what the Discord is for. Okay, this is what the Discord's for. It's so I don't forget these great ideas. Let me F55. Let me show you that I haven't forgotten. I'm not gonna forget this. All right. We have an ideas channel. Add Max Verstappen. He's in the game now. He's gonna be in the game. I'm a Python coder. Yeah, I have that keyboard. I need to make it my firmware. Yeah, let's go. You're gonna do your actual firmware? I just cheaped out and found a guy on eBay who can make the Soars adapter, but hey, brother, more power to you. You can actually, since you're using the same one, you have all these extra buttons that you can remap to do a bunch of whatever you want to do. Right now, I don't have anything for them. They're not mapped to do anything of significance. Like right now, I think the only thing that any of them do is these two, and they just add. Oh, they don't do anything. Oh my goodness, what am I doing? No, can't. No, it's just debugger. Okay, we're fine. We're fine. It's fine. I didn't do anything bad. So I can play it. It's not out yet, and I still haven't made a proper name for it either. But currently on Newgrounds, it's called Stain World Prototype. But that's a pretty rough version of the game. It's in fact, it's not going to look anything like the final game at all, because mechanically we've done a new design, mechanical design for the game loop. But hey, it exists. But yeah, Jinzing, that's pretty impressive. But also, whatchamacallit. 1 second. All right, we're back to normal. Yeah, same. I'm not sure if you're being, brother. I'm not trying to be mean, but everything you said just like kind of triggered me a little bit. It just kind of activated something in me. I don't know what to say, man. It's kind of crazy how words change and they affect you differently. But I need to stop being a hater. Max Verstappen Simulator. Max Verstappen Simulator. What is the so we have this working, and then let's close all this dumb UI that we don't need. Close. So we're actually entering this now, and we're actually triggering this hit new selected bounds. But for whatever reason, we're not activating it correctly. We're kind of we follow progress. Sub, by the way. Hey, thank you. I appreciate it, Elijah. I guess beyond this YouTube channel, I guess Discord, and then yeah, I mean, and then the Cozy Games website, cozycabingames.com. But right now, I have to do a whole rewrite of our framework, because even though I like TypeScript and I like this framework I worked on, actually I don't like TypeScript, but whatever. I want to have a page where I can write devlogs about everything we've done, and then I'm going to post that on the Discord. But for right now, I'm at least going to for sure be posting updates in the Discord. And in fact, you can even see old updates there. Where is it? Yeah, dev updates. You can also see the Git log, so you can spy on me. You're going to see a bunch of me pushing stuff at odd hours. Yeah, and you can see like progress from older versions of the game. Why that monitor, please? Oh yeah. I almost forgot. This is called a Magnavox. Magnavox Color Display 40. I'm not sure where you can find it reliably. I'd say visit your local vintage festival, but or Facebook Marketplace, but that'd be the place to go to. His opinion on Giannis. What's with all these opinions, dog? Giannis, terrible man. He fought my father, broke his arm. He broke his arms too. Our families will forever have a grudge. Is he another NPC that's gonna be in the game? See this blowing up, hopefully. on Blazor. Intuitive, at least to me. What's Blazor? What is Blazor? C#. Well, right now I have no opinion. So, Microsoft Blazor, build client web apps with C#. I guess it depends. Like the most I use is UniRX, which is like a reactive extension for C#. But I'm very cautious about any kind of abstractions, especially or UI frameworks, because like I don't know. I don't like UI modes that are just in general retentive, but I know for certain platforms you can't escape it. But there's another phrase. Oh my goodness. Oh, are you playing my game, Eli? I hope I'm saying your name right, Eli. But yeah, like I'm very cautious about abstractions for UIs because a lot of times it feels like it just adds bloat, and a lot of what I like doing is minimizing bloat as much as possible. So like that's why I wrote like our own lighting system for this game, because you know, is this Unity? It is Unity. Okay, it just didn't draw correctly. But yeah, like a lot of my stuff is just trying to be leaner. So whatever kind of library thing I subscribe to is usually I want it to be very minimal in terms of how much abstraction it introduces. And the reason I like UniRX is just because it's very component, so you can choose which components of it you use and all that kind of stuff. But anything that's advertised like a wholesale solution for your UI, I'm kind of wary of. I'm not saying this is what Blazor is. I'm just cautious. That's my mindset coming into it, right? I'm not sure how Blazor works. It's Microsoft though, and I don't like Microsoft. Learn front-end web development. Very cool. Blazor Quick Start. Okay. Let's go to documentation. Okay. Razor page title. Oh. It's like XML. Wait, what is this? Okay. Is it like embedded C# within like XML or HTML? Is this what I'm seeing? Is this what I'm... This perplexes me a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. This actually kind of perplexes me a little bit. Not gonna lie, C# is very intuitive and I love it. Oh, I actually don't dislike C#. I think C# is pretty awesome for a lot of applications. Also, what do you got there? In terms of what? Is that a Model M keyboard? Yes, it is. Intrepid Animations. Wait, Linux? Of course, Linux. How could I not use Linux? If I'm not using Linux, it's gonna be FreeBSD or my own operating system we're gonna write eventually. The Cozy OS is bad, but their frameworks are awesome. Yeah, it's kind of... Isn't it heartbreaking when a company you don't like makes actually good products? It's kind of heartbreaking. It's kind of heartbreaking, dude. It's really tragic. Like C# is great, man. I enjoy C#. Can KPC play Red Dead Redemption 2? Probably. I got like some pretty... Let's take a look. So I got a pretty... It's an old CPU, but it's still pretty good. Does it say the name of it here? Because I don't remember it at all. It shows the cores I have going on here. But so far, it's managing to do things pretty correctly. And we check out NVTop. No GPU to monitor? Are you high? Is that why this is being weird? I have a GPU, dog. That's how we're rendering this stuff. Like, what happened? Is my GPU? I'm pretty sure I have a 5060 down there. Brother, what? Okay, well, it should be able to run Redemption. In fact, it's kind of fun playing modern games on this because some of them actually work pretty well, and it's kind of weird, and they actually kind of look. And I might be coping, but it kind of looks better. I'm not coping. I have the option for a real monitor. I have real monitors over here. It actually looks kind of good on this. What am I seeing right now? Ubuntu with i3, brother. The glorious Ubuntu i3. Carmack Code Doom right now. This is such a portal into the 80s. Kind of. I can never be Carmack. I can never be Carmack. And we're like, if we're being Carmack, like, this is too much. This is too nice. You actually have an UI here. If we're gonna be Carmack, we're gonna be like using good old fashioned C++, no LSP. We're not gonna use a language server. We're not gonna use any of these niceties. Why would you want to have syntax highlighting or any of that stuff? Brother, what we're gonna do, all you need in life really is a simple. One second. All you need in life is Vim. This is all you need. You just need Vim, some good C++, and then when it's time to run your project, when it's time to compile, I have to go back here. One second. Oh my goodness. There you go. You just do GCC. Or no, G++, because we're still kind of modern. My bad. This is how we're meant to do it. Everything else is just bloat. Everything else is just bloat, brother. We don't need any of this stuff. We don't need any of these things. Everything else is fluff. It's fluff. All right, I made a little mistake though, because I forgot that this program is kind of buggy, so we have to actually do the whole, I have to manually kill it, the process, for it to stop. Just earned us up for that. Oh, I appreciate it, man. I'm not good enough with Linux. I'll just use WSL. It works. Hey, brother. Frosty, I started with that. I think I mentioned it before, but like, I didn't always thought myself as a programmer. This, where I'm at right now, is the product of a bunch of baby steps, or seemingly baby steps. Using WSL with Linux, with Windows. I did that for a bunch of years. It's good enough for me. And then beyond that, you know, started using Git. Like I didn't always use Git. Like I didn't always used to like, this seems simple, but like actually doing your own manual, like using commands to do your Git logging. I didn't always used to do this. This scared me. I was scared I was gonna mess things up. For my first year professionally working, I just used the GitHub UI. But you know, eventually something goes wrong and you actually have to start using a terminal, and then, you know, once or twice, and then you go back to your UI, and then you start going, oh, you know what, these commands aren't that crazy, you know, to me it's not that scary. And before long, you actually kind of prefer using this compared to actual UIs. And that's how the process of ascension happened. It doesn't happen overnight. It starts with a bunch of little micro experimentations and optimizations. That's just how life is. Van, why not? You're right. Kazuto, you're right. Or Kazuto, you're right. I should have just used Vi. I'm a. Dang it, dude. I'm a Neanderthal. I'm not a real programmer. I should have done this. This is all we need. It's kind of crazy. I have like 3 levels of Vim. We have Lunar Vim, which is too nice, and then when I want to be a little bit, you know, a little bit more humble, we use NeoVim, and then If we want to be a little bit more humble, we use Vim. And if you want to really go back to the basics, we just use Vi, which I think is still Vim, NeoVim, but because of the way it's configured. But hey, it's there. It's there. Honestly, I don't like dual booting WSL. It works good enough. Even my laptop. Yeah, no. Dual booting, I don't like that either. I have a laptop that's actually running Windows 11. That's spyware. But I'm like, all right, I need to have one computer to actually do builds on for game coding and stuff like that. But yeah, I considered dual booting, but it's like you can mess up your Linux boot or sector because of a Windows update. It's pretty tragic, dude. It's pretty sad. So it's either one or the other. I agree with you on that. I wouldn't play around with these two. Got to be a person of commitment. Got to commit. Okay, what is going on here? So clearly we're hitting something. And then we do the deactivating thing. It's not null, so we have bounds. We set the look target to bounds. We activate the rendering for that. And then let me get rid of the deactivating rendering. I'm wondering if this is causing issues. But even then, it would be undone if it's the same thing. I don't even know. Just don't touch the EFI partition. When is the next live, bro? Usually a couple times a week. Probably again Friday, Saturday. I don't know. I'm pretty frequent with streams. Just use Nano 11 without any of that blow. You're right, brother. Why even use Nano, brother? I don't. Carmack didn't do that. You know what Carmack did? He got a magnetized spoon and he moved the electrons on his hard disk drive. He moved the CPUs on his computer to be in the correct configuration for his file, so that when he eventually did GCC or G++, it would compile that new version of the code. You're using software to modify a text file? Disgusting. I use a magnetized spoon. How's developing on Linux with Unity? Got a buddy who's just starting game dev, and I suggested he takes the plunge from Windows. It is pretty good. There is one weird issue, which is that audio. If you have audio in Linux, like if you started your game in Windows and you have like audio in there, and then you switch to Linux, there's a chance that the audio stuff will be broken. So right now in my game, like the audio is not working, and I have to I have to do some kind of processing on all the audio files because they're not going to work. Like if I go into audio and look at one of the music or songs I composed, yeah, it's just not going to work. It opens here, but in the actual editor, it just doesn't work, and there's no easy way to fix it. Like even I tried re-importing and doing all that stuff. It just, for whatever reason, I'm not sure if it's some weird file format. I don't know. So beyond that, though, it largely works fine. And then I don't know. Yeah, and if he's doing some weird shader stuff, then maybe DirectX 11 may not work. It may not translate. The shader code may not execute correctly. I had that, but that needed to be solved anyways because I needed to develop for WebGL as well. So it's not but aside from that, it's pretty good. Pretty good. Thank you, RAR. Chad Doom Guy. Oh yeah, I make music too, but running Ableton on Wine just doesn't cut it. Yeah, worse with plugins that use graphics. Yep. That's why I have that laptop over there running Windows 10 and will never touch the internet, or should rarely touch the internet, because I have all my audio equipment and VSTs and plugins there, and they're not going to survive any kind of upgrade. I know for a fact if I do any kind of upgrade, it's just going to break everything. So we're just going to try to hold out for as long as I can, replace parts like the Ship of Theseus, and hopefully everything just works good, dude. Hopefully it survives until winter. And hey, thanks for joining. I'm reacting to this. I'll react to that ad. You have a good time. You enjoy yourself. But yeah, aside from that, it's not that bad. You know Dixon Myers? No, I do not. Who is this person? Should I love them? Should I hate them? Should I request a duel with them? And as for you, Saxon, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. I'm trying my hardest. The game I'm working is a 2.5D platformer. So I could show this, but there's better footage in the Discord, I think, if I can find it. Where are you? There you. Why is this icon there? But yeah, this shot goes it's probably a pretty cool shot. But yeah, that's the kind of game we're working on, and just doing some improvements and optimizations. Honestly, I might just take a second from this Occlusion Manager to deal with some shader stuff, because like I kind of want to modify and tweak the rendering pipeline we've made a little bit, because I would like to have some dynamic lighting happen. Not dynamic, I already kind of have dynamic lighting, but I want to have more configurability for areas. Cozy point light, cozy settings. Where's my shader? Cozy lights surface. Here we go. And here's our cozy light fragment function, and then yep, here's all the code for our lighting pipeline. There's Linux DAW like Bitwig, but barely any Linux plugin support. Really? Yeah, it's very hard to get like decent DAWs or feature-rich DAWs. And the issue for me in particular, I have a special audio interface that has like a Intel processor built into it to do a lot of the analog processing without any kind of input delay. It's really cool, but there's only so much. It's very tied to Windows. Also, hi, Melisec. Good to have you here. I believe it should have Vulkan support. Yeah, I believe Unity should have Vulkan support. It actually has support for a lot, like most APIs. And I think they're going to be adding web GPU support sometime soon too. Here we go. Let me try recomputing the light source, or the lighting a little bit. Let's go here. So let's try recomputing the lighting. Fog enabled. Where's our directional? There's our sun. Right, and we compute the lighting through the sun directly. Yeah, I need to start doing some stuff with this. And then this is using vertex lighting, but for really simple meshes, it actually turns out to be very jank. Let me try turning off vertex and using the per pixel lighting model. Brother, what? Brother, what? It's pretty cool. The lighting model we have, it's very interesting. It's just a little jank though. We have some stuff we have to fix. There's some shadow acne stuff. But part of the reason too for making this happen is that like I'm pretty sure you guys have encountered this too. There are games that are made with engines, right? And you can kind of tell what engine they're made from because they all kind of have the same kind of look about them. They have the samey kind of appearance. I'm not gonna dog on them for it, but that's just kind of a thing that happens. And when you're making a game that's trying to look like an old console, which is what I'm trying to do, old consoles had very weird visual artifacts that came about just due to the limitations and some of the decisions of the hardware. And some of that stuff you just don't quite get from just using a basic Unity surface shader or even a simple unlit shader. So by implementing this our own custom rendering and lighting pipeline, we can add some weird artifacts or jank or whatnot. Yeah, I mean, it's not, you know, for a AAA production, definitely is not going to work, but I feel at the very least that it makes things feel a little bit different and gives it its own unique vibe, and hopefully people who play the game might pick up on that even subconsciously, I would hope. And plus, this implementation keeps things kind of performant. Like, we're not using any Unity lighting components. This is all custom, you know, cozy point light. What about Reaper? I haven't tried Reaper. I need to try it, though. Yeah, Unity has Vulkan support. Let's go. Let's go. Nice to Unity games, unlike unoptimized Engine 5 games. Yeah. That was crazy that what was it? Gearbox's CEO was, like, raging about that. Like, there's something so cool about seeing your own lighting system, like, kind of working dynamically with stuff. It looks so freaking cool. And then where is our light source? Directional light. And this is just for testing purposes right now. Yeah, we can change the intensity of this. And then color as well. So if I want a particular vibe, we can do that. We have very weird shadows. I think it's pretty cool though. All right, let's save this. Let me try seeing how this looks. And you asked if I tried Godot Engine. I did. I don't like it. I do not like Godot. And it's not just due to like some rough edges or anything like that. I think some fundamental decisions about how the engine is made or how the engine is designed just doesn't jive well with me. And that's fine. That's fine. But yeah, if I'm going to switch engines from Unity, it's going to be my own engine. And that's just how the cookie's going to crumble. Godot's kind of cool. I entertain Godot because I have this development kit that's super catered towards C#, and having an engine that also uses C# is very alluring. And then I did some projects in it, but I like control, and there's some things about Godot that kind of eliminates that. Like even like the fact that I can choose my IDE, right? Like, yeah, you can do that with Godot. You can't do that for shaders though. They have their own thing, and maybe eventually they'll separate their shader language to be a standalone thing. But the fact that I have to do all this stuff within a lot of their stuff within their engine directly is very painful for me. Which is, you know, it is what it is. So our engine currently only supports point lights. We only have point lights, and then we have our sunlight. And that's fine. And only sunlight casts shadows. Everything else doesn't. So there's a decision I would have to make about what other additional types of light sources I would want to have, and the kind of shadows they would have to cast, or maybe even having dynamic shadows. Because there's a cool, like when you look at cinema and look at the type of lightings certain directors do, there's really cool effects I'd like to recreate in this game. Like beyond just being a cool puzzle platform, or not puzzle platform, beyond just being a cool platformer with platforming challenges, I do like having the idea of set pieces that are very visually engaging and interesting, and playing with lighting in particular. And that's going to inform the kind of tools I write for myself to achieve those different effects. Are quite distinct. Yeah, they're very, very different. But yeah, no, making your own engine is definitely, it's so much more fun, engaging, and rewarding, and you start feeling like a wizard at a certain point. It's pretty freaking rad. Am I missing something in this? on update. Oh, I know what's happening. Oh, I know what's going on here. It's because we do this whole physics, this raycasting first, and then we overwrite the progress with activating the current active cell. This has to happen before we do that. Oh my goodness. It was a simple order of operations issue. Sometimes you have to step away from the problem. I'm not sure if this is gonna for sure work because there's one other case I need to cover, but this should cover it. But C is killing me. Yeah, C++. Yeah, C++ ain't that bad. This ain't that bad. Will it have a LAN or co-op type feature or just add a lot of work? I'm thinking about having online co-op. That's what I'm thinking about doing. Look at that, guys. Do you see that? I look away, it doesn't exist. And there she is. Yeah, we have to make it not as obvious, but that's a level design problem. That's not a technical problem. Look at this. Our occlusion system is just working. It's just working. It is just working. It's just that simple, guys. It's just that easy. Just that simple. Let's freaking go. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about, man. All right, we have to fix this animation as well. Ooh, actually, this might be. Is that a bug? Because you're supposed to latch on like that. Yeah, that might have been a bug. Hey, progress though. Milk shorts, what are you doing? So I was working on this, and we have it done. This optimization where we only render the parts that players at or looking at. And we have that working now. We have it working. We just fixed a bug. It was a simple thing. It's always something simple. We did it. We did it. We done did it. In fact, we so done did it. I'm just going to commit the progress we have because, you know, nothing sucks more than losing progress. Am I right? Oh my goodness. A looked bounce into rendering. Sweet. We saved our progress today. Nice. Now there is another thing we can do, but I don't even think I want to do that. I think this might be just good enough. I think I can design convincing levels that hide this rendering thing. So like a simple way of doing that would be, for example, making these walls be, because we have fog as our helper here. Fog is going to be our big friend in terms of hiding level loading. So we enable fog, and then if we have the big stuff that's going to be occluding geometry not be part of this occlusion bounds, like if it's just outside of it entirely, then it's going to feel seamless. I love C++. Some STL designs are questionable, but some otherwise the language is bliss. Brother, STL is crazy. Standard templating is freaking wild. What is going on here? Yeah, there we go. Yeah, it kind of scares me. Like I try to keep, honestly, when I write my own C++ projects, I treat it like C with operator overloading and, yeah, I just treat it like C with operator overloading and a few other features. But beyond that, like, I don't want to complicate it too much. Yeah, like, so you can't even see when it's being loaded in. Bam. Dude, fog, look at that. You can't even see, like, The fog does such a good job of obscuring this stuff. So you can't see, okay, you can see when that's loading in and out. That's not good, but that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. We can work around that. It's a level designer issue. It's a level designer issue, which is a me issue. Heck yes, dude. This is starting to look pretty decent. It's starting to look like an actual game. Isn't that crazy? It's like we're making a game or something, guys. Oh yeah, this looks super good at this resolution. Why have I not been using this resolution? Yes. In C++, I don't like how templates can't have function implementations in source files, I believe. That's absolutely a downside stuff. Game looks good. Thank you. Sugaku? No, I don't remember my Japanese. I don't know my katakana. But thank you, I appreciate it. Let's freaking go though. Okay, so we have one big thing solved here, which is the loading. So next thing for the game that we need to work on, I think last time I introduced this idea, this tool for let's create empty. I added this tool for making the dust spots that you see in game, and I think I have it called stain shape, where you can just introduce a shape and just modify a transform and it'll automatically change to encapsulate the area you want to make dirty. So if I want to make this area dirty, for example, and I want the shape of a box, I could just do scale here and scale on the z-axis. Please work with me, Unity. Unity, work with me. Anyways, I can do this and I can press play and this area would be Sazuku. Okay, thank you. Release date when? I'm not sure. Whenever. I'd like to get it done this year. But you never know. We don't know. I want to finish making tools, and right now we're technically in pre-production. We want to get all the basic stuff to a vertical slice for the game, and once that's done, I think it should be pretty cool. Once we get into production, it'll be pretty quick. But yeah, look at that. So we have these dust shapes, and they work as intended. And then I was playing around with the idea of having this mesh generation, because right now these look really flat. And maybe that's fine. Maybe that's fine. But if we have more real estate on the technical side, it would be kind of cool to reintroduce the mesh generation. But there's a weird technical challenge we're going to have to face to make this mesh generation happen. And maybe we don't even do it. Maybe we just get rid of it and enjoy the process of creating the game you'll be proud of. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I make games for fun, and I'm not gonna rush, nor am I gonna crunch again like I've done in the past. No more. The game will be done when it's done, and we're just enjoying the process of it. I think honestly, if I'm gonna be real with you guys, I honestly enjoy making the game more than getting it done. I really do. Like, some people are very goal-oriented, and I used to be very goal-oriented. I wanted to get the game out, have people play it, tell me what they think. And I do enjoy feedback, but if I get this game done, or when I get this game done, it's going to feel a little empty. We're going to have to move on to the next project, ASAP. I love 2D animations in the 3D world. Thank you. Yeah, a lot of work went into having a good work pipeline for getting that to work. Or a good tooling pipeline to have sprites behave in that way. Which program is that? I'm using Writer for text editing, and I'm using Unity for game engine making purposes, or game making purposes. Is there anything else that's needed here that I'm neglecting? Oh yeah, there's this mesh gen object. And then this mesh gen object had a weird bug for some reason where it was failing to load like a resources, miasma. Did I change the name of that or something? I don't even know. I don't even know the name. I don't even know. Well, first of all, let's move this back to where it belongs, because I added a bunch of stuff here. Nice. Yeah, there should be a material called m_miasma. And it should be in resources. And it is in resources. So hopefully this just works. I'm using C#. Can't escape C# when in Unity land. Unfortunately, you can't escape it. So now... Aww. No, the mesh is generating. It's just down below. Oh, if I pause... Oh, and this is the issue I had to deal with. This is the problem I have to deal with. So there is dynamic mesh generation. It's just going to be... Right now it's at coordinate 0, 0. Which is kind of terrible. It was fine for the prototype we were doing earlier. But... Yeah, for the purposes of a game, or for... This, it has to be dynamic. It has to be in many different types of surfaces. And I'm starting to remember the edge cases that this would crop up with this. So maybe we just don't do the mesh. We don't do this. Yeah. I could probably find a way to programmatically do it differently, but there's one particular issue with dynamic mesh generation in this context, which we could explain, but yeah. It feels like a pain for very little gain, and also would significantly impact performance for people. Which, if I'm publishing a WebGL as well, I'd like the game to perform good. Hello, TZ. Good luck with the game. Going to work on my game engine now. Let's go. That's releasing in 15 years. Hey, brother. Let that cake bake, all right? If it takes 15 years for the bake, do it. Hey, Jonathan Blow. What is he doing? Making a game, a humongous Sokoban game, making his own language and then his own engine on top of that? Like, brother. And it's looking sick, so it's like, all right. Sometimes you gotta let the baker bake. It takes you 15 minutes or 15 years to do that. Screw it. That's what the cake needs. Is that i3 or DWM? Looks kind of like those. Yeah, you have 100% right. I'm using i3 for all this management stuff, which, by the way, let's get rid of this, get rid of this, get rid of this, and get rid of this. Yeah, i3 is the move, man. i3 is I can't go back. Every time I have to use Windows for work, it kind of hurts me a little bit. It kind of hurts. It hurts my heart a little bit. Just up, gotta go, do some stuff. Hey, appreciate it though, man. It's really enjoyable for some reason. Good luck and have fun. I thank you. You have a good one, okay? Hope your day is good. Hopefully you get the things you want to get done. Sazoku, I hope your day is as productive as you want it to be. As you desire. Yeah, we're not doing this. We're not doing the dust man. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. Maybe for like a future release, maybe I'll revisit the dynamic mesh construction, but I would really need to sit and ponder through this. I'm going to get rid of this debug stuff because it's no longer needed. The occlusion stuff is working as prescribed. So we can clean this bad boy up. And then I don't think we need to document anything else here. It just works. It just works. It just works. Windows is the cancer you didn't know you had. Yep. Yeah, and it's very sad. Like, it's the same thing with Vim, right? Like, you learn Vim motions, and you're like, oh, this feels so good. But then when you go to Word or Notepad or any other application without modes, you realize, oh, I've been blind. I've been blind. It's like the Plato's the Cave. Like, you've been looking at shadows all your life, and then when you finally see an actual duck, it's like, oh my goodness. Like, shadows can never be as entertaining as they once were to me. That's just kind of how it is. Player release control. What was I doing here? Oh yeah, I was changing the camera controller thing, which, by the way, we have to have different modes for this because the way you control the camera with your mouse has to be fundamentally different than you do with gamepad. Because yeah, there's different things like lerping that you'd want to include. So maybe we should have like enum active controller type. So that we can have different controls for this. Heck, if I make a touchscreen game or make this work on tablet, or I'd also have to have a touchscreen option for it, right? Though likely I'd probably make my own touchscreen controller and then have it be treated like a gamepad, but or mouse, depending. I don't know. That's my dream work environment. How pleasant is it? Quite leisure. I love it, dude. I love it. The stream is really cozy. Thank you, Danielle. That was the goal. That's my main thing I wanted to achieve here, is that you guys can feel comfortable in this environment. That's why we call it Cozy Cabin Games. It's not that we just only make cozy games. We want the process of making the games to be cozy. And honestly, like, this here is like my safe space. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy my life. I enjoy touching grass. Going to work is good. I enjoy my coworkers and doing stuff. But, you know, this is where I can work the way I want to work. I can do the things I want to do. I can design and implement code in the way that I believe is correct, in a way that makes sense in my world. And I can use peripherals and stuff that feels good to me. Yourself in 2.5 sentences. How would you do it, brother? What is? I don't even know how I would go about doing that. I mean, there's two options, right? I can either be super egotistical, but still like as accurate as I can be. Like, there's option one where I say, so handsome, talented, and humble. I'm gonna add a third one, humble, because I'm super humble. You have to remind people when you're humble. That's very important. How else are people gonna know that you're humble? I don't know, man. How to condense the entirety of my essence into 2 words? I guess, I don't know. Pride, I guess, kind of prideful. I take pride in everything I do. And that's why I try to do as best as I can. And then curious, I guess. I guess those would be the 2 things, prideful and curious. I don't know, that sounds bad. I don't know. I also like teaching, though, and sharing. So, like, how does that factor into that? I don't know. That's the best I can do. What are you doing? Speed, I'm working on a game. I'm working on this game here. And we finished the big optimization for it, which is fantastic. Because we had a lot of issues with optimizations and overdraw. And now that we have that done, I'm looking at implementing the very next thing, which is like this stain shape, I think is what I want to work on. Because I mentioned we have this ability to set areas that should be dirtied, and it looks fine. This works perfectly fine for right now, but I would also like to have this be more dynamic than it currently is. Right now I only support box, but I would like to have a circle option where with that, it would create a circle and fill that space in with this dirt map information and do things correctly. But I'm finding that this is becoming kind of problematic, the circle option, and maybe we just get rid of it and ignore it, but that feels like a defeat, and I don't like being defeated. But nevertheless, it is an issue, and as a designer, I like having options. How much time did it take you to learn C#? Brother, I'm still learning C#. Just yesterday, I found I learned about weak references because we have this whole reference counting issue. But as far as languages are concerned, or C#, like learning the basics and stuff, like, I don't know, I guess like 2 years of working professionally before I felt like actually good at it at a professional level. I mentioned it earlier, but like for every job I've been hired for, I feel like I was super underqualified. And that's not imposter syndrome. That is a correct assessment of my skill set. And I think most of the time I got these jobs just because I'm pretty good at communicating, right? So like you can have someone who knows this amount of things, or like this amount, but if their communication skill is down here, people perceive they have this skill of here, even though they may have this skill in actuality. Whereas like I feel like my skill is like somewhere here, but my communication skill is like up there or more. So either I can correctly communicate my capabilities, or I can make people think I'm more capable than I actually am. But yeah, so like when I got hired for these jobs, I started learning as much as I can and asking a lot of questions and doing a lot of research. I think once you have like really solid understandings of object orientation and you understand some basic programming patterns and interfaces, like the simple stuff, like you're pretty good to go. You can start working from there. And then learning the difference between passing by reference and values. Now, here's the thing. In fact, we're going to do a little, just give me a second. There's like levels to this. So there's like language proficiency. And there's like level 1 of just like basic syntax. You already know that, right? NeoVim or LazyVim. I honestly use LunarVim. I used to use LunarVim a lot just because I had LSP for Rust, but lately I just use NeoVim. We just use NeoVim. I'm a NeoVim kind of guy. From Windows, but I'm a mechanical engineering student, so I really have no option. Also, I think Windows can be reliable if you spend enough time and effort. There's some fundamental constraints from Windows because they put a lot of their UI stuff in the kernel, and if you try to do anything cool with Windows, it thinks it's a virus and doesn't allow it. If you want to hear more tangents about UIs and Windows, there's a guy named Ross. Let me find it. Accursed Farms, and then UI. He has a whole lecture, literally a lecture, I think, about this topic. I don't agree with his conclusion about what the ideal UI looks like, but that's very different. But yeah, there's some limitations with Windows. It's very sad. The most I can do is just Alt-Tab, and that's the best I can do. But anyways, going back to this, right? Because you activated this unskippable cutscene. You activated it. I can't stop it. So there's like basic syntax, right? For C#, and that's like the basic syntax of just C# in general. And then the next level is like learning the environment. So, and this can be kind of contextual. Environment. So this is like understanding, the stuff that .NET has that is important to know. Like, hey, how do streams work? Like learning that file info or directory infos exist and all this kind of stuff and everything, right? Or in the case of Unity, it's like learning about things like, I don't know, their object, their ECS structure. And this is the basic stuff, right? And then you start getting to more advanced problems, and then you start learning about things like the garbage collector in C#. So garbage collection, how that works, and the implications of it. And then you start learning about unsafe C# and unmanaged. And that's for times where you need to do things that are fast but are not necessarily safe. And then, you start learning how to deal with pointers in C# and everything, and deal with those constructs. And then if you start tackling very computationally intensive stuff in Unity C#, then you have to start learning about burst compilation and the job system. And learning how to manage that stuff. And then beyond that, right? Oh, and I should include in this tier OOP ideas. In fact, we can swap these. I think these are more apt. But yeah, from here on, though, you start getting to the more esoteric stuff. Is data structures and algorithms important for game development? It kind of depends, really. It depends on what kind of things you're doing in game development. In general, data structures is important. Algorithms are important. The important thing about algorithms is the understanding that your code takes time to execute. That's important. Just understanding, the code takes time to execute. And understanding that there's a time cost to every single line of code you could do, it's just good to be aware of that. And then when you start tackling unique problems, that starts becoming a consideration depending on what you're trying to do. For example, I talked about this recently right now. There was this issue, in fact, let me see if I can redo it, where we're generating this mesh every single frame, and we had to decide what kind of algorithm we want to use, right? And it's not a preset algorithm. I didn't go on Google and find it. It's someone you can kind of just derive on your own. But if you understand that there's a cost to the type of code you're executing, then you can start making pro-con decisions about it. So algorithms are important. It's good to know that certain algorithms exist for certain problem spaces, but I think it's very important just to understand that, hey, you're playing this game of economics. And sometimes when you're tackling a problem, you have to make a decision of whether or not you want to use more CPU cycles to do that, or can you use more memory and have less CPU cycles to do that? Or is there even a way to save on everything, right? But geez, brother, get out of here. I already know. But yeah, that's kind of the big thing about data structures and algorithms. There's some basic data structures you for sure have to know. If you're in C#, you have to know what a dictionary is. You need to know what a hash set is. There's some fundamental things you need to know that are just super helpful to have and can make things faster and makes caching things better. But beyond that, when you're doing programming for either a game or a business software or whatever, you're kind of acting like an economist, and you go, okay, if I write this in a bad way, is it bad enough to cause an issue? If it does, okay, how bad is it? And then you bust out a profiler, like in Unity, window analysis, profiler. You bust out a profiler. And then, oh my goodness, what's going on with my graphics device, dude? Whatever. You bust out a profiler and you start checking out, you start measuring the cost of these things and then making decisions based off of it. Anyways, sorry to do a tangent, but I have to do that. What do you like more, sync or async? I mean, that's not really a preference, right? They're just two different things for different applications. There's times when you need to do asynchronous things. Most times synchronous is good enough. Sometimes you can fake async with synchronous behavior. So like you can do, like you probably guys know about this in Unity, but there's like coroutines that exist. They have the illusion of being asynchronous because they happen over multiple frames. Well, it's actually a synchronous process. It's happening on your thread. But yeah, like it really depends. Like in general, I try to avoid async as much as possible because it includes a lot of, when you have asynchronous things, like true async on a separate thread, it becomes hard to deal with and debug because, like, for example, in normal C#, you can throw an exception. Like if something went wrong, you could throw a new exception. The program will try to handle it, but it won't necessarily crash your application. But if you have a separate thread that's running code and something goes wrong, it will crash it. And it's very hard to log what's going on. So there's a lot of issues with threads, but if you have a lot of things that need to be done in the background and you don't want to block the main thread because you want UI to update and have a loading bar or do some cool graphics, then that's your friend. I'll ask differently. Are you more of a sync or async type guy? More of a sync type guy. I try to be sync. When I do async, it's because it's a necessary evil. That's the best way I could describe it. Like even my game engine that I'm writing, I'm making it be single-threaded, synchronous application. The less complexity I can introduce, the better. Yeah, we don't need these anymore. I can get rid of this occlusion stuff. Is there any other additional debugging stuff we need to do for these occlusion bounds things? Also, I didn't say goodbye, but hope you have a good one, all right? Have a great day. Yeah, we don't need, oh, I want to keep this. This is helpful, should be helpful. Intersects, yeah. Yeah. Everything here is good. Everything is good as is. Neighbors isn't used. We're not doing the neighbors thing. And maybe I should avoid that because there may not be a need for it. If we never do adjacent queries. Camera pipeline, yeah, we can get rid of that. Ugh. If I want to learn a programming language from basic to advanced and work in big tech companies, then what all things should I learn? So here's one thing, right? I think it's important to know if the person you're asking is qualified to answer that question. I will say this, I am not a big tech guy. I work at a startup. It's growing and it's taken off and that's pretty sick. But I do not work in big tech and have never worked in big tech. So already out the box, you're gonna have to take any advice I give you with a grain of salt. Because, I never desired to do big tech, but, it also means that my advice may not be catered or may not be super accurate. This is just based off of what I understand and have heard. But beyond that, if you're trying to do big tech like Fang and whatnot, it kind of depends on what field you're going into. If you're doing web dev, then it's unavoidable. You're gonna have to learn some JavaScript, and depending on what you're trying to do, you're probably gonna have to learn some front end and back end. You are a better programmer than many people in big tech. Kind of. Okay, so I'm not going to disagree with that statement. And I think most of the coworkers I work with, that is also true of. Now, the reason I say that is because a lot of big tech is working in JavaScript. And it's working in web dev. and it's working in the place where you're separated from your low-level computer. So there's two routes I can give you. I can give you the simple stuff of like, oh, this is what big tech wants. Then there's the other answer of, here's like the stuff I'd recommend just to become a better programmer. And by having that virtue, you'd be able to do the things that they want you to do in big tech, right? If I were you, if I'd want to just get my foundations good and do it the right way, I would learn from C. Learn some C. You don't have to do crazy stuff, but just learn C. Learn what structs are. Maybe implement a few basic data structures. And just get familiar with the concept of C, like, data types, structs, learning some, and then learning how to implement some basic data types, like trees. No, let's not start there. With I don't know, like linked lists, trees, etc. And then learning how to deal with pointers. And then learning the difference between stack and heap. Which is going to require malloc. I think if you learn these principles, these things are the foundations of everything programming. This will make you a better programmer because you're aware of these things. And then when you go into languages like JavaScript or Python or whatever, it's going to feel in some ways way simpler to work with than C, these languages. It's going to feel like you're taking some weight off because you're not these things exist, but you don't have to manually deal with that stuff because they make a lot of decisions for you. Of course, do a lot of projects as well. And then if you're doing big tech, if you're doing Fang and stuff like that, then of course you probably want to learn some frameworks and stuff like that. Don't be carried by them though. Like, you should still be able to do stuff, but yeah, you're gonna have to learn some back end and front end. Particularly back end is super important. I think that's like where the big money stuff comes from. Or I guess the big money stuff is full stack, but backend seems to be the more challenging thing for people. Like multi-threading concurrency should be covered while learning a language. I mean, it's good to learn that. This is assuming you don't know much about, like, assuming we're starting from scratch, no code knowledge. This is a good place to go because with this you can do a lot of things. But if you're already you're already chilling there, then yeah, learning how to do asynchronous and multi-threading in an application is always helpful. And every language has their own different features when it comes to multi-threading. A lot of these things, all these things are universal. Every programming language has some form of this for the most part. Unlike JavaScript, they don't let you do just pure stack stuff. But outside of that, like, every language has all these concepts. However, and they work mostly the same way. Maybe not this, but you get the idea. Multi-threading though and asynchronous is different. Different languages have their own different way of doing it. They have their own different principles at work. Golang has function coloring. C# has their own way of doing things, do tasks, and they have different structures. So yeah, learning a language, like, it would be good to learn about this. But it just kind of depends on your problem space if it requires it. Like, a lot of times this isn't needed. But maybe you're doing server stuff. Maybe that's actually going to be something you need to do, and it's good to learn that. Aside from that, it's really dependent on what you want to do. This is all assuming like web dev is your focus. I think no matter what though, web dev, whatever, you should implement some kind of stack. Like, you need to do this at some point, one level. It doesn't matter if you do a lamp stack or if you do a mean stack. just implement some kind of stack for yourself, even locally on your computer, or if you want to, you can try using something like AWS to host it, but that's expensive. But having some knowledge of just, okay, this is what backend and frontend does, this is what a REST API is between them and how they communicate. These are the lines of communications that happen. Learning this stuff is just going to be super helpful in general. Because no matter what, even for games, a lot of times you have to do some communication to some kind of REST API. And thought it was enough and started learning data structures, good, algorithms, but now I see many other concepts which are confusing. Also, how important is learning OOP? It's super important. It's this weird bell curve where, like, when you start out, you don't use OOP. And then, like, when you get more into it, programming, you need to learn OOP, and you start doing OOP and everything. But then you start seeing the negatives of it, and eventually, the more advanced you get, you start learning when to not use OOP, and you try to avoid it when you can, depending on what you're doing. But OOP is very important, and there's even a book I'd recommend reading. Let me grab it for you real quick. I have it over here. Okay, you know what? One second. I think I have the book upstairs, but there's another book too called Clean Architecture. That's also worth a read. One second though. Let me get the book. So here's the book I'm talking about. It's called, I don't know if you can see it. It's called Design Patterns. It's part of this Gang of Four book. Design Patterns, Elements for Reusable Object-Oriented Software. You see these structures pop up all the time. If you're going to be working professionally, you're going to be working with other programmers. And if you're working with other programmers, you have to have a way of managing complexity of code and how your code is going to interact with other people's code and how they work, right? So this gives you a bunch of different structures that are pretty common for designing and organizing your code. That's kind of an inevitable thing you're going to have to do, right? And clean architecture is also tied to this idea. It's more about how some of the ideas behind clean code. Now, these are things you're going to have to learn when you're working and developing software and doing stuff. Yeah, I'll type the name of the book for you. Yeah, Design Patterns, but it should come up pretty quick too. Design Patterns. Elements of reusable object-oriented code. That's the major one. Very helpful. There's much more patterns beyond that, but it's a good foundation to work with. You can do a lot with it, and yeah. And then clean code or clean architecture. That should be pretty easy to find, clean architecture. Those are super foundational, important to have. As you work professionally, they're a must-have. Now, I'm not going to say they're the best way to do code. I actually dislike a lot of the things that happen. The thing is, though, there's something called Conway's Law, which in fact, we're not going to get into it. I'm not going to talk about it. That's a whole nother topic. But no matter what, like, because you're working with other people, you're going to have to compromise on sometimes the best solution to code to instead have it be broken up so that you and them can work independently of each other. That's just how it is. Anyways, guys, I think I'm gonna wrap up stream here because I'm starting to see daylight, and I need to probably do a little bit more resting before I start working for today or clock in for my day job. So thank you guys for hanging out. I'm surprised by the huge amount of people who came out today, and I appreciate everyone who subscribed and followed and who are just interested in the work that I'm doing here. And I just hope that you guys enjoyed. I'll be streaming. I stream pretty frequently, and I'm gonna be in Puerto Rico next week, so this setup is not gonna be quite the same. Very sad and tragic, but it is what it is. But either way, I hope you guys enjoyed. And until next time, I'll be seeing